Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your TWitWoW monthly Q&A number 28. It is October of 2018, and we have been collecting questions for the last 4 weeks. And let me tell you guys, this is one of the craziest turnouts that we've had in a while. We got 76 questions this month. We had 68, and then literally within the last 10 minutes, we've had 2 more people ask 4 questions each. So that's huge. And because of that, we're going to change the rules around a little bit. And before I even kick it over to John or start answering your questions, I want to start things off by letting everybody know that we are going to be lowering the question limit down to 3. But if you are a patron, we will actually technically be raising the question limit to 5. So if you are a TWitWoW patron, you can now ask up to 5 questions a month. But if you're not a patron, it's limited to 3 from now on. So that's how we're going to do this from now on. Rather than doing 4 for everyone, we're going to give our patrons a little extra love on the side. And just in an attempt to try and limit it at least a little bit, we're going to lower everyone else down to 3. So, John, that being said, 76 questions. How are you feeling, my friend?
My mind's blown. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, especially with that one person asking questions right at the finish line. So, yeah, I mean, time for talking's over. Let's get into these questions.
All right, let's get into it. First question, as usual, probably asked while we were live for the last one. James, first up, what was the most interesting news story from October for you?
Well, 2, because the Saudi journalist thing happened in October, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And most recently, Trump calling himself a nationalist at a rally, which has caused like a bit of a fervor, negatively, and I'm sure some will react to it positively. But those are 2 of the most outrageous things I've heard. Plus, I think I read something about Alabama having a voting tax and somebody running for election in Alabama, like having leaked audio saying he's afraid about constituents voting. So, yeah, I'm just going to limit myself to those 3. Ashton, do you have any news stories you want to share?
Yeah, the 2 that I would say are the Kavanaugh situation where this whole hearing took place and then he was still confirmed without any kind of real hesitation. And then just as far as wrestling goes, the Roman Reigns thing was huge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
And we will be talking about that later on the show. We got a question from Mark Schoeneman. That should be right smack dab in the middle of this show, too. Probably like an hour and a half away, if I had to guess. So second question from James, with the elections being a week away, do you think that my dad ever loved me?
No, because he never deserved to love you because you're amazing and I'm glad he's dead.
I was just going to say no because dads suck and most of them probably don't really love their kids in the first place.
You have a home with us, James. We'll all be your father because I fucking love your face. That's my...
Yeah, everyone here can be your daddy.
Yeah, I'll always be your daddy, James.
Third question from James. What would make you no longer support your favorite wrestler? Political views, sexual assault allegations, etc.
Really, it's weird because, like, even with, like, the Chris Benoit situation with the murder-suicide, like, after some time, I'm still able to go and enjoy the matches. I mean, you guys know this because you guys have done Patreon requests of cards with his matches on them. But if they were still living and they were caught with something, I don't know. I think political views I could honestly tolerate because I've always wondered, is like Johnny Mundo a Trump supporter? Because sometimes I get like weird vibes that he might be. But I think sexual assault allegations and stuff, I would just feel deeply discomforted like about watching somebody with that. So I think that's kind of where I draw the line, is like any kind of assault or any form of violence and they're still like alive to like bear witness and stuff. Like, oh yeah, I punched my girlfriend in the face or something like that. I'd probably be a bit wary. What about you, Ashton? What's your red line?
Yeah, well, considering that I'm not really as deeply attached to any wrestlers as I know you are to like Mundo and stuff like that, I'm on, I guess you could say, a little more of a hairline trigger. And I think we've already kind of experienced that with Puma, kind of fallen from my like super fandom when he was Prince Puma just because of shit that he said about Lucha Underground. So I'm a little more susceptible to changing my opinion on wrestlers than I think you might be. But yeah, pretty much everything you said, just finding out in general, like anything that leads me to believe that you're a shitty person, I'll probably just not like you as much. So that's why I, also intentionally kind of go out of my way to stay ignorant of how these guys are and how these women are in real life, because the more I know, the more chances there are to find out that they're a piece of shit, and the less good wrestling I get to enjoy.
Yeah, there you go. Next question.
Fourth question and final question from James. What's the top 5 events that you're looking forward to in DBZ Abridged Season 4?
Well, number 1 for me, Vegeta's Sacrifice. 2, so going backwards from like most anticipated to least anticipated. 2, the arrival of Ultimate Gohan. 3, I'd say the battle between Majin, Vegeta, and Goku, just the way that they're gonna, dub those whole interactions, because there were some great moments there. 4, Vegeta becoming Majin, and 5, Super Saiyan 3 Goku. So that's my top.
Okay, 5. Nice. So I don't really have anything in order. This is the order in which I remembered moments from the Buu saga. So, first of all, the failed fusions between Go 10 and Trunks, that's going to be fun. The way that they do a take on that should be fun. The splitting of Majin Buu into Good Buu and Evil Buu winning that battle and eating Good Buu and becoming Super Buu.
Right.
That should be good. I always love Hercule or Mr. Satan. I always love his commentary. So his relationship with Buu should be really interesting because, he's kind of terrified of Buu for the most part, and they end up kind of being friends by the end of it. Kid Buu in general, I'm curious what kind of voice they're going to give Kid Buu. I don't know if they're going to really try and stay true to the series or if they're going to have it be like a weirdly like cartoonish voice. So that'll be interesting. And then everything that happens inside Super Boo's body, like all of that shit, like the weird sacks that the people are stuck in inside his body and shit like that. And like the way that Team 4-Star are going to handle that is just going to be interesting to me. So those are my 5.
Great choices, man. Next question.
Up next, we've got 2 questions from Asia. First up, what would you do for this match? Sexual favors, murder? And then you have in parentheses here, John, that it's Dolph and Drew versus the Boss and Hug Connection.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I would murder somebody if it meant seeing Bailey eat a Claymore kick to the face. So murder is definitely something I would do, for sure.
I wouldn't even ask for this match. This match doesn't sound very appealing to me, so I'm going to just kind of back away slowly.
I don't know. I think between Bailey eating a Claymore kick and Dolph bumping for Sasha, I could have a good time with this. So
I'd rather just see them face each other. Like, I would rather see Drew versus Dolph and Bailey versus Sasha.
Well, you'll always, WWE will give you everything except the thing you want most, as Paul Heyman said. So,
yeah.
Next question from Asia.
Second and other only, she only had 2 questions this month. Question, and this is just for you, John. Book Sasha versus Bianca Belair. And then she also had in parentheses here that Bianca has stated in an interview a year ago that she watched old tapes of Sasha in NXT.
Okay, so let's just kind of back on history a little bit. Let's say at Evolution we do get the tag titles introduced. We have like a tournament takes place on Raw. Like one side's the SmackDown bracket, other side's the Raw bracket. And let's say we got Boss and Hug Connection versus the Iconics. Boss and Hug Connection win. Let's say they hold on to the titles, we'll say 5 months. And they drop them to Alexa and Mickey because, what better way to get heel heat than give the woman that everybody's kind of calling out, a championship, another championship. Sasha grows a bit frustrated. They get their rematch. They lose. Sasha turns on Bailey. And then she says, you know what? My mistake wasn't in getting a partner. It was just in getting the wrong partner. I don't want a hugger. I want somebody that's an EST, or maybe even just say the best or something like that. Then Bianca comes out. Sasha and Bianca have a run of dominance. I would keep them together, honestly, for a year and a half. Maybe they regain the tag titles at some point. Maybe Mickey and Alexa lose them to Naomi and Asuka. And Naomi and Asuka could lose them to Bianca and Sasha. Bianca and Sasha, let's say they hold on to them 6 months, maybe 7 months. They lose them. Bianca continues to support Sasha. Maybe she regains the women's championship. Has a bit of a run with that. But Bianca starts to get just a little envious. Sasha's champion. Bianca's kind of the muscle, but Bianca's just getting the scraps. Sasha isn't really thinking about Bianca's needs. She's just thinking like, oh, I'm finally retaining the title. I'm on top where I belong. Everything's good. And then, one day Bianca just, bam, turns on Sasha. Let's say Sasha, let me think here about the roster. Let's say Sasha loses the title to Ember Moon. And then they have a rematch, and Sasha's starting to work a bit more baby because, you know, Ember's bringing it out of her. And then, you know, they hug. Ember retains, they hug. And Sasha's learned some humility, and she's embraced the fans again and stuff. Well, Bianca, this is just her breaking point. Bad enough that Sasha wasn't thinking about me, but now she puts me behind all of these people. Well, fuck that. Blindside Sasha, bam, beats her down. Then cuts a promo being like, you know, Sasha, it's one thing to be a boss. It's another thing to be the best. And then I would say, because they're probably going to do Evolution as like a yearly thing, I would think. So then the following year at Evolution, we have Bianca versus Sasha. I would say Bianca goes over. And then we have Bianca go on. I'd give them a break from each other. Let's see if Evolution's in October. Then I'd have Bianca maybe win the Women's Championship. We'll say Royal Rumble or Fastlane. And then ultimately it culminates at Bianca versus Sasha one-on-one. Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Sasha gets her win over Bianca and goes on a babyface run as Women's Champion. So I'm just going to stop there. That is just very brief, like a cursory overview of how I would book Bianca versus Sasha. So there you go.
All right. Up next, we had 4 questions from Hypothesis. First up, which Pokemon would Ashton most like to see as a playable Smash Bros. Character?
Ooh.
You know what? This is kind of a weird off-the-wall answer because it's a character that kind of went overlooked in Gen 3 because of more popular legendaries. Because I know Gen 3, like, everyone loved Rayquaza. Rayquaza was like this big-ass flying dragon, and everyone loved it. But the Gen 3 Pokemon that I would love to have a playable character in Smash is actually Deoxys, because then you get the form shift. You can go from the original form to the offensive form to the defensive form, and maybe even have a few different tweaks to the move set depending on what form you're in. And I really like that idea because then you can decide, like, if you're at a low percentage and you just want to be a glass cannon, you can be in the offensive form and just deal as much damage as possible. But then once you take enough damage that you really want to worry more about not getting knocked off the stage as much, then maybe you go into a more defensive form. I think that's a really cool concept that they haven't played enough with.
There you go. I think that sounds awesome. Next question.
All right, this is actually just for you, John. He wanted to know if you'd heard about this Bernie supporter who was assaulted by members of Antifa for carrying an American flag at a counter protest against a right-wing group. Yeah, he wanted to know your thoughts on that.
I didn't hear about that, and so I really can't give any thoughts on it because I don't want to comment on things that I'm ignorant of. So I'll have to look into that.
Okay, third question then from Hypothesis. A thought. What are your thoughts on the EU, the European Union, passing Article 13?
I don't know what Article 13 was. Maybe I can actually very quickly look this up. Let's see.
I did a little bit of Googling earlier, and apparently it has something to do with some kind of copywriting, but it's like they're using like legal terms that I don't understand. So I just have no clue how to answer this question.
I really don't either. I guess we can move on.
Damn it, Hypothesis, explain your shit, son.
Yeah, really.
Fourth and final question from Hypothesis. If there was a Hall of Fame for memes, which 7 would you pick for the first class? And we're sharing picks here.
Okay. For me, the Guess I'll Die meme, because that's one of my personal favorites. So that's my vote. What about you?
What is it?
When the grandpa shrugs and he's like, "Guess I'll die." You know?
Oh, okay. Crying Michael Jordan.
Definitely the one where the guy's ogling the girl and then his girlfriend's kind of looking at him all offended. I've seen that everywhere. That has
that's a great. I was actually going to pick that if you didn't, so I'm glad you did. Galaxy Brain is a really easy one.
Galaxy Brain. A guy looking at a butterfly and thinking that it's something that it's not.
That's a good one. Oh man. God, this is a really difficult decision. Shit. This is like, can I just say like SpongeBob memes in general? Because I feel like those have been fucking everywhere forever.
Yeah, we'll count this. How many does that leave us? Ashton?
Yeah.
If we count the SpongeBob memes, how many does that leave us? Because I said that seems doable to me. So
because I don't want to pick like a specific one, but that puts us a 6. So if you want to do the last one, you can. If you can't think of something, I got something.
Are you familiar with the with the one where it's like the girl says, "Oh, I wish ponies could talk," and then they always like insert like what the pony actually says? I've seen that one quite a bit. So I think I'll go with that one as my final.
If I would have picked a seventh one, I would have gone with the change my mind guy.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. All right. So up next, we've got 4 questions from Racist Fan Rocks. First up, if the TWitWoW chat was on Wipeout, who would make it to the end?
I would say Alex Foster, Paulium Gregory probably would. He's very active. Because I don't know how you like what's the parameters by which somebody survives? Is how active they are in chat, or I don't know.
Well, no, I mean I get if he's talking about Wipeout like the game show, then it's like I'm pretty sure that's the one where they have like boards coming at you with shapes in them, and you have to make your body match the shape so that you don't get hit into water.
Oh, do we have anybody in our chat that's incredibly flexible?
I was just thinking about like, yeah, like I don't know. I'm thinking like, who might be flexible? Who's probably thin? Because like, if you're fat, you're probably not going to do well on Wipeout. Who's not overly tall? Because that's another problem that I've noticed.
Well, based on all those qualities, I think Ella would probably survive. So I'm actually gonna.
Yeah, Ella is a good one. Ella's a good one. Oh, apparently that's Hole in the Wall. That's a different show. So I just don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what Wipeout is. Sorry, racist.
I'm still going to pick Ella. And you know what? Fangmeyer's in here. Somebody with a last name that fucking awesome could survive anything. So Ella and Fangmeyer are my answers.
And you know what? I think I'm going to go with Ella. But then for my second person, I'm actually going to go with Cliff.
Nice.
Second question, though. If Lucha Underground did a no-rope barbed wire match between Killshot and Dante Fox, who would win?
I'm gonna go with my boy Dante.
Of course, because I'm gonna go with my boy Killshot.
I look forward to us having that rematch in the future, my friend. Next question.
Up next, third question from Racist Fan Rocks. If there was a World Cup of American football, what countries would have the nicest jerseys and what countries would have the ugliest jerseys?
God, the U.S. would probably be obnoxious with their jerseys, so I'll put them in the ugly category.
Yeah, I also want to say I think China would probably have really ugly jerseys, and that's just because I'm trying to think of the jerseys that would have the most ugly colors in them, and China's flag has a lot of ugly colors in it, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like yellow is like hands down to me the worst color, and then red isn't far behind yellow. So like if there's a country that has a lot of yellow in it with a little bit of red, I'm probably not going to think their flag looks good.
I think Japan could do something beautiful because it's only like the white and red with their flag.
Yeah, that's a nice simplistic design.
You
know whose flag I would actually probably think would be really cool would be Mexico's.
Mexico, because they've got all the vibrant colors. So they got white for the neutral and then green and red. Germany would probably be ugly. I'd put Germany in the ugly category.
Germany is what, black, yellow, and red?
Yeah.
Yep, I would agree with you then.
And honestly, Italy, because they got the similar color scheme, but just different, like a different variation from Mexico. They also got like the red, white, and green. So I'd say Italy would be in the beautiful category, and I think I'm going to stop there. So,
yeah, that's definitely fair. All right, so up next, our fourth and final question from Racist Fan Rocks, and this is actually just for me. And again, it's a Pokemon-related question. If the Pokemon universe was real, what region would you live in and train? Oh, that's easy for me. I would pick Sinnoh every single time because that's where all of my favorite early Pokemon are to start with. Because I remember every time I would play Sinnoh, first of all, my favorite starter of all time is in Sinnoh, that being Chimchar. And then very early on in your Sinnoh adventures, you can catch a Shinx, which I love. You can catch a Starly, which is my favorite regional bird of all time. And you can catch a Badoo, which evolves eventually into Roserade, which is an incredibly powerful grass type. So I absolutely adore Sinnoh. I think Sinnoh is my favorite region. And Sinnoh is also the first region that we were introduced to one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, which is Weavile, a dark ice type that you can find in like a snowy area of that region. So a lot of my favorite Pokemon are in that region. And personally, my favorite games are Gen 4 as well. So that's an easy choice for me. Up next, though, we had 3 questions from Golden Elite. First up, is it time for WWE to officially make NXT the third brand and create a new developmental territory? This question was longer. He went into talking about how he feels like there needs to be a different place where very green guys like Tino Sabatelli and Riddick Moss and stuff like that can actually learn how to be good wrestlers and keep that separate from like the TV product that we're getting from NXT. that kind of stuff. So, and yes, we've spoken about this multiple times before, and we definitely feel the same way.
Yes, absolutely. I think you've already got so many established indie talents like featured prominently on your episodes that there's no excuse to not keep the greener guys like in the back at the gym in promo class doing what they want. And then if you want to unveil them and be experimental, look, I'm cool with being experimental. You know, Kona Reeves, I think, was an experiment. Whether that succeeded or not, you know, that's up to the people in the back, not me.
Right. And I think that's the thing too, is like you should have the TV show should be where experienced wrestlers go to learn how to work for WWE style, like the style in the ring, working the cameras, all that stuff, because they can learn on the fly doing that. But then you need to have something separate where people actually learn how to wrestle, because it makes no sense to have fucking Cassius Ohno in the ring learning how to do bumps alongside Tino Sabatelli. Like, I'm not saying that that's actually what's happening, but that's like an extreme, not even necessarily realistic of example of like why it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think you articulated my sentence perfectly. We can move on.
All right. So up next, our second question from Golden Elite. Given that Lucha Underground and Impact have both been doing sort of cinematic style videos and vignettes and stuff like that, that people who are watching their TV products are seeing regularly, do you think the WWE is going to start doing that soon as well? And by the way, they also specified, Golden Elite also specified that this is stuff that only the television audience is seeing it. So like when you're like a part of the arena or, you know, on commentary or something like that, you don't necessarily know what's going on in these cinematics, like in Lucha Underground. And I guess Impact is doing it that way as well. So he's asking if WWE would ever do something along those lines. And I don't think they will.
Here's the thing. I'm going to say I don't think they will right now. But given like depending on where viewership is, I'd say 3 to 5 years from now, WWE might have more of an active interest in rewatchability. Because again, you get unique little kernels from purely the TV product that they might be more open to it. But at this present time, with everything going on, they're making so much bank. I don't think they're going to do like a lot of radical kind of tampering or any kind of introductions of any kind of content. Well, I'd revisit this in like 5 years from now. I think they'd maybe more pliable to the idea. So.
Yeah, I really, given how sort of committed to their live audiences the WWE is, I really don't think that they're ever going to show something that they aren't allowed to see.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, third and final question from Golden Elite, and I'm just going to read the question. Why are the WWE putting Finn Balor in the upper card spot that he's in now when they have a better version of Finn rotting in 205 Live in Noam Dar? And then he goes on to list all of the ways that he thinks that Dar is better than Balor.
I mean, I respect difference of opinion, of course. I really don't see that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we respect that you have this opinion, but I think that you also need to respect that more people like Finn than Dar.
Yeah, like, you got to understand, Golden Elite. Like, for me, I haven't been on Finn's Twitter in a while, but when he was doing all of that baby oil phase, like, so many people gravitated to that. Like, I think he has a likability, a presence. He's good looking. I mean, let's just say, like, he's a good looking guy.
Well, and that was the big thing, too, was that he even had in his list of ways that Dar was better than Finn was that he was better looking, too. So
I'd say it's a very subjective category, but one also that I personally disagree with.
Well, and it's all subjective. Like everything that he said that Dar was better than Balor at was something that he subjectively thought that isn't objective fact. That really, like, I've been trying to kind of say this even like to Mark, because Mark's awesome. We love Mark. He's in Discord. He's a great dude, but he kind of has this thing where he thinks that talent is objective. And to me, like, your perception of someone's talent is very subjective. And we can't really know what their objective talent level is most of the time. Like we don't know for sure who the better in-ring talent is between Finn Balor and Noam Dar. There's no real objective way to measure that.
Right. So yeah, I get, what was the initial question? Like, oh yeah, like why is WWE putting them in that spot? Because they trust Balor to carry it. And I was like, I know we're gonna get more into the Roman Reigns situation later. Like, if there was ever a time to really tap into your resources, this is the time. So let's just, sit back and see what Finn Balor can do with the ball.
Yeah. Can you repeat what you just said?
Oh, I said, let's just sit back and see what Finn Balor can do with the ball. Because, I mean, we're going to get more into the Roman Reigns stuff later. But, this is the time to tap into your resources. So, right. Yeah.
And I also do want to point out, it seems like Finn Balor is a little bit bigger than Dar too, and WWE loves size.
Yeah, absolutely.
Up next, we had 4 questions from Dominique Adams. First up, given the status of the Bayley Sasha storyline, would you say WWE dropped the ball on this feud? Hell to the yes, they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, there's nothing more to say than that. Hell the fuck yes. I think both talents deserved a lot better, which isn't to say that it'll never get better, but like, fuck me. This whole division should have been built around them from the word go, and it's just been really.
I mean, as if we didn't already have enough proof that the WWE didn't give a single shit about their women and actual talent when it comes to their women. Look no further than the fact that this is the biggest dropped ball of a storyline since Emelina.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, WWE is absolutely awful when it comes to women, whether it's scouting them for talent or pushing women with talent or, not doing anything with, just whatever. You get the idea. So, second question from Dominique. Would it be possible for a pro wrestling match to last more than 24 hours? If so, who would be the participants?
I think with a shit ton of rest holds, fuck yeah. I'll put AJ Styles in there because even if
Dude, I mean, I'll give you an hour or two with AJ, but he's still 41 years old. I don't know if he's going 24
hours. Pete Dunne,
maybe.
Tyler Bate,
definitely.
Yeah, honestly, forget AJ. Just give Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate 24 hours. And Dragunov, who's like, what did we say, 19? So like Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, and Dragunov, just some really young guys, 3 people to carry the ball. That's my 24-hour match. Again, shit ton of rest holds. I'm not denying that. But
Dragunov is 25.
Oh, Dragunov. I thought Dragunov was a really young talent. Still just like a year older than Pete Dunne. So I'd still go with it. And yeah, that would be my match right there.
I don't think anyone could just work 24 hours straight, but would it be possible for a pro wrestling match to last more than 24 hours? Yeah, of course. Curtis Axel was in the Royal Rumble for months.
Exactly. So if he can do
there are all kinds of little tricks that you could do to make a match last that long that don't involve having 2 guys go in there and literally kill themselves by trying to entertain a crowd for 24 hours.
I mean, you could do a spot where you can capacitate a guy and the guy goes to the back to shit and eat. Like, you can just got to get creative with it. I think you can pull it off. But
Next up, third question from Dominic Adams. Should NXT have their own version of Money in the Bank, or at least have their performers in the match alongside main roster talent?
I like the idea of NXT performers being in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I'll sign on to that, but not their own Money in the Bank ladder match. That would just feel a bit much.
No, see, I think that you could even take that a step further. I think it would be wonderful if you gave the NXT talent their own Money in the Bank ladder match on the Money in the Bank pay-per-view with the main roster, but that briefcase is for a mid-card title shot rather than a world title shot. And that way they can get opportunities on the main roster. They can show up to the main roster shows and tease cash-ins, and that can give the WWE a chance to be like, oh, is this talent working as the main roster talent? And if they are, give the mid-card title to them. Or even if you don't want to put the mid-card title on them, you can still use that as like a trial run to keep them up on the main roster and have them be a main roster talent then. But if it fails miserably, they can go back down to NXT. They can cash in. They can fail. They can go back down to NXT. They can have a character reboot or like a Road to Redemption storyline, and then we'll try again in a few months. Are you still there, John? Oh, shit. John dropped out of the call, guys.
I tabbed out to the chat, and then I accidentally clicked on this. I was just going to say to you, Ashton, that I really liked your answer, and we can move on.
Okay. Whew, you freaked me the hell out, brother. All right. Up next, our fourth and final question from Dominique. What would have been the positives and negatives of Naito going over Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 12?
I think the positives would have been that you would have had a guy that's universally loved by the crowd. Like, I think he was at his peak there. Like, he was very hot, needed to be capitalized on. You still could have had very compelling feuds, because it's a guy with a very popular faction watching him. You could have done interfactional warfare, maybe Evil or Sonata gun for the world title points while still keeping the faction together, which we know New Japan can do. They've done it countless times. Fresher feuds, and you really could have given like a new face that I think is just as marketable as Okada. Like, he's not this hideous, roided out guy. Like, I think he meets the aesthetic of a top guy. And as far as downside, it really depends on what you would regard as a downside. Maybe less attention on Okada in the main event and Tanahashi and stuff like that. I don't know, but I really see far more upside than downside. I still think it's one of New Japan's bigger blunders in their history. But I'm going to actually hand it over to Ashton because I know you're a big LIJ guy and a Naito guy. So what do you think?
Yeah, to me, the biggest upside is alternate timeline thinking here. If you put that title on Naito, people don't grow to kind of resent Okada for holding the title for so long, which means he gets to stay hot. We don't have to put the title on Kenny Omega, and in my opinion, his title reign has been wholly uninteresting since he won the thing. Then Cody isn't in the title picture at all, in my opinion. I'm guessing they wouldn't have done that at all. And then we could have actually had, more intrigue in the G1 because it wouldn't have been so obvious who was going to win the G1. It was either going to be Okada or Tanahashi. Tanahashi won. I called Okada, but still, it was down to a 50-50.
Right.
I just think that you have a lot. And plus, you're like ripping the Band-Aid off, too, because Okada's title reign went for so long that no title win for anyone could have been satisfying enough because of how long the title reign was. But if you would have just pulled the damn Band-Aid off for Naito, I think that would have made it a lot more painless of a title transition.
Do you see any downsides before we move on to our next question?
Oh, well, like you said, the downside is we probably wouldn't have gotten all of the Kenny. We wouldn't have gotten the Kenny Okada match that ended up being a really, really good match. The 2 out of 3 falls.
Well, to be fair, Cliff said that in chat. I more said Okada spending less time in the main
right.
event.
Yeah, that was my bad. I actually read that in chat and just forgot where it came from. So yeah, Cliff actually said that.
Right.
Still, yeah, he even said, even then you could have done that later. You could have given Naito a run, drop the title back to Okada, and then have Omega win the title off of him. But now, because they didn't strike while the iron was hot on Naito, I don't know if he's ever going to get back to the world title scene because he's cooled off.
Yeah, definitely. That's the biggest tragedy to me of this whole thing. He was so hot, they should have pulled.
And the thing is, even with Omega, they didn't strike while the iron was hot with Omega either. So that was a mistake too. With Omega, when he won the title, it was a year and a half after he was at his hottest. So
and it's crazy because they always seem to get hot. I'm sorry to cut you off, but they always seem to get hot at G1 season. And people want to see them go to Wrestle Kingdom and win the title. But New Japan just has this insistence where the world title will not change hands at a Wrestle Kingdom. At least
the two tropes are, if you win the G1, you won't lose the briefcase. And if you even when you get to Wrestle Kingdom, then with the briefcase, you're not winning the title.
Exactly. I just never understood that. So
I believe the only time that the briefcase has ever caused the championship to change hands was when Tanahashi cashed it in before Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah. So there you go. That's really all I can say about it. We can move on if you want.
All right. Well, I think that was it for Dominique Adams. So up next, we've got 4 questions from Rotten Butter. First up, you know the drill. We'll shit that you listen to, read, anything.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of Marvel Netflix shows. We're currently working through Luke Cage season 1. We just got done Daredevil season 1 and 2. We did Jessica Jones season 1. So really, we've just been going through the whole thing chronologically. Me and the family. We've been watching the show Magic for Humans. Really fun magic show to watch while we eat. We started the House of Haunting Hill, I think it's called, that new horror show on Netflix. It's been all right. With all the hype it's gotten, I've been a bit disappointed, but I'm still waiting for it to pick up. And the last episode we kind of left off on was admittedly very good. I enjoyed it. I definitely got me more intrigued. Reading, you guys know I'm a philosophy nerd. You don't give a shit about that. I've just been doing some new books, working through an autobiography. I've missed reading a lot. Still playing Mortal Kombat 10. Kind of cooled down on it a little bit, but I'm looking to pick up soon now that I got fresh batteries. We're still doing Rocket League like crazy. I'm trying to think if there's any. Oh, I'm watching The Good Place season 2 and fucking Speechless. That Speechless has been I don't even know if they're going to get renewed after this season, but it's been all right. The Good Place, though, I think is still going strong. I still love that show. Their last episode before this one that's going to air tonight was very good. And trying to think of anything else. And you know what? I think I'm actually going to cut it off there. And, I guess things we read, too. I did read more about Black Mirror news. New season should be in December. So hopefully for December Q&A, I tell you guys that I watched the latest season of Black Mirror. But yeah, that's all the cool stuff that I can think to say for right now. So I'm gonna hand it over to Ashton. Ashton, do you want to fill in any gaps?
Oh yeah, sure. So as far as music that I've been listening to, I added maybe like a dozen or so new songs to my playlist. Happy Now by Zed featuring Ellie Duhay. And then because I had to look into Ellie Duhay because of that song, because I really liked the way she sang, she also had a newer song called Fever that I added, which is really cool. Just My Type by the Vamps has been kind of a guilty pleasure for me for the last couple weeks. Stuck by the Lost Kings. The Chainsmokers have another new song out called This Feeling. And the Chainsmokers are just fucking hit makers. They are unbelievable. So consistent. Happier by Marshmello featuring Bastille. I love Bastille, and I've really enjoyed most of Marshmello's stuff too. Better by Khalid. A newer, like, kind of like a poppy country song that's not really country. It's just kind of boppy. Called Baby Don't Talk by Leon. I think she's like a Swedish artist or something like that. I don't know for sure. But that's one that's been stuck in my head a lot. Fine by Spencer Sutherland. 5 Seconds of Summer have been putting out some great shit. They had Youngblood a little while ago. They just put out this song was on their album that Youngblood was on, but it just kind of came out as a hit, Valentine, which has a really Arctic Monkeys vibe to it, and I love it. And then Sigrid, again, just cranking out the hits. Sigrid is a beast at pop music. She has another new song out called Sucker Punch that I absolutely love. So as far as music goes, that's about it. Over the course of the last like 2 or 3 months, we have completely caught up on Silicon Valley, The Magicians, Stranger Things, which we didn't really need to catch up on, but we rewatched both seasons, Daredevil seasons 1 and 2, and Jessica Jones season 1. And we're in the middle of Luke Cage now. We've watched 3 episodes so far out of, I think, 13. And then we're going to do Iron Fist, and then The Defenders, and then Punisher, and then we're going to go do Jessica Jones season 2 and just keep going. We're basically plowing through as much of the Marvel Netflix stuff as we can before everything gets canceled and Disney starts their streaming service and we start having to pay for 2 goddamn streaming services because Disney just wants all the money. God damn it.
Woohoo!
As far as games, really just Rocket League. I will say though, I have been playing a lot of Golden Sun lately. I played through that game from beginning to end, and I've actually been recording like what the best strategies are to use as far as like mixing and matching your classes and stuff, because that is like a hardcore JRPG, and like it's not as simple as like, oh, well, you picked a warrior. That's the character with the good attack and defense, but no magic powers. Oh, you picked the mage. That's the character with low attack and defense, but good magic power. Like, no, it's like, oh, you have these little creatures that when they're assigned to certain people can change their class and stats and everything. Like, it's very complex, at least for my extremely simple American brain for all this Japanese role-playing game stuff. So yeah, I love Golden Sun, and I've been playing through that. And once I finally beat that game, I'm going to play Golden Sun: The Lost Age, and I might even take a dive into Dark Dawn for the first time ever. I never played Golden Sun Dark Dawn because I don't think I ever even completed The Lost Age, because that's a gigantic game. Like, The Lost Age is actually bigger than the original Golden Sun, I think. And Mark just said, use all the gin. Dude, it's funny because when I first played, Isaac for Smash for sure. When I first played Golden Sun when I was a like preteen, teenager, very young, I would always make sure to set all of my Jin before a big battle and just summon Unleash on the big boss and hope that it won the battle for me, because then after that, all of your characters are very weak because the Jin actually being a part of their like inventory makes them have stronger stats. So like, perfect example, if you have all of the Jin on set, or I'm sorry, I meant standby earlier, but if you have them all set, the character will probably have like 400 HP and 150 defense. But if you stand by so that you can summon them, the character drops down to like 250 HP and like 90 defense. Like, it's really, their character stats are heavily dependent on these little Jin, and you have to really be smart about whether you want to use them, whether you want to summon, whether, like, it's really complex. I love Golden Sun though. And really, I'm thinking about downloading and playing MapleStory 2 too. So I've been kind of doing some research on that. Been, thinking about whether I want to invest time into that, because that is a time sink and a half. So I've even, just because of everyone talking about MapleStory 2, it's kind of got me itching to play the original MapleStory game again as well. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I don't really have a ton of hard drive space to be kind of messing around or having both downloaded or something like that. So it's a big question. So I'll see what I do. Maybe ask next time around if I play. I'm sure Rotten Butter will ask this same question next month anyway. So I'll just let you know next time if I played one or both or whatever. But there you go. I think that about covers it. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me. We can move on.
Second question from Rotten Butter. What are some of your favorite fictional cultures?
Oh, damn. I wouldn't even really know how to answer this because honestly, and I'm kind of ashamed to say this, I don't think I've read like enough fiction to answer this. I will say though, I guess if we're choosing like fictional cultures, because fiction isn't just like a literary medium, you know, we've watched plenty of movies and stuff. I'd say the culture of like a Wonder Woman and those words, you know, with the whole Greek mythology. I love Greek mythology, so that has to be in there. And honestly, so I'm not hemming and hawing the whole time. I think I'm just going to stop there and I'm going to hand it over to you, Ashton, if you have like more than one answer.
Yeah, the like island culture that you see in the movie Moana. I mean, it's pretty damn close to real life island culture, but I just love the idea of that. Brandon Best with an interesting take, the Na'vi from the James Cameron Avatar movie. That's a cool one. But I would actually say, speaking of Avatar, water tribe culture seems badass, and hell, earth tribe culture too. I'm not as into the fire tribe or the air nomads, but water and earth tribes I can get down with for sure. And yeah, I actually was even thinking, like, since we've been talking about so much Pokemon, wouldn't Pokemon culture be a thing, since like they literally live in a world where there are no real animals left, and the only wildlife you ever see is these like sentient creatures that can fight and throw like flames and shit. Like that's got to be culture in and of itself, right?
Right. Yeah, I would say so.
I would definitely include that. So, third question from Rotten Butter. What are some of the absolute worst ring names you've heard of?
Shockmaster.
Jeremiah Snake. Ew.
Yeah, Shockmaster, Jeremiah Snake. God. Wasn't there like a garbage man character in WWF? You probably
Duke the Dumpster Drosy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that's pretty stupid. And I think I'm gonna cut it off there. You have any other names you want to think of here that you can think of?
Yeah. Who is that fucking guy that used to team up with Grado on progress shows that we would watch that had two names that were the same?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Shit.
Damn.
That's gonna piss me off. I have to find this. I'm sorry to everyone for wasting your time, but I have to find this. I can't just not find this. God damn it, this pisses me off.
Yeah, me too.
Wow, thanks for the support, bud.
Well, you shouldn't have counted on it.
What an asshole.
I thought this was Kelly.
Oh, I think I found it. Did I find it? Madman Manson. Fuck that.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, fuck that guy.
That's the worst name I think I've ever heard. Oh, okay. Anyway, fourth and final question from Rotten Butter. What's a henway?
No idea.
It's an old joke, apparently, used by the Marx Brothers, among others. A hen weighs about 4 to 6 pounds. So there you go.
Oh, Rotten Butter. Next question.
We've got 4 from Cliff. First up, how stoked are y'all that we saw the Kings of Wrestling reunite at an NXT live show? And then he also asked, kind of a double parter here, do you think that both men were at their peak when they were together?
I wouldn't say at their peak when they were.
I think Cassius Ohno, Chris Hero was at his peak when he was a member of the Kings of Wrestling towards the very tail end of their run. Yes, but Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli, he was at his peak when he won the goddamn armbar.
Yeah, I would agree with that, certainly. It was cool seeing them reunite for that little bit. I think it was like a nice loud pop kind of moment. I don't know if we'll ever get the actual tag team in WWE. I doubt it. But then again, the only thing that does give me confidence is that they seem pretty comfortable with Cesaro in the tag division. So you never know. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. We can move on.
All right. Second question from Cliff, just for you, John. Any new rock bands you've been getting into?
Actually, it's funny you ask that because Montage Rock actually did upload something from a group today that I'm gonna look further into Spotify probably when we play Rocket League tonight because I don't know if we're gonna have any like content to listen to. They're called Never Tell. It's Nevertel, just one L there. I was listening to their song Cold. I think they have a really cool sound. I'm looking more into them. And I think I'd have to go into my Spotify to list other groups. So I'm not really going to do that. But that's definitely one group that I found. And yeah, I'm always keeping an ear out. Montage Rock is a great channel. If you guys are like me, if you share an affinity for like, rock music, they're always uploading new groups, sometimes older groups, but songs that are really popular. Just a great channel. And yeah, I'm hopeful that this is a discovery that actually sticks. So that is that. Next question from Cliff.
Third question is just for me. If someone came up to you and asked why they should join the Cult of Cole, what would you tell them to convert them? And then he also had in parentheses, remember that he's listening. I wouldn't have to, because if someone truly believed, then I wouldn't need to do any convincing. I don't need to convert people to the Cult of Cole because Adam Cole does it himself. If you don't truly believe in Adam Cole, you don't belong in the cult.
Okay, well, there you go. Next question.
Fourth and final question from Cliff. What one great talent from the Mae Young Classic do you think is going to fly under the radar with fans, and why?
Fly under the radar.
Well, I actually was, if she hadn't gotten signed immediately and been on NXT literally the following week, I would have said Mia Yim because that's kind of what happened last year. But given that she got signed and she's in NXT now, she's probably not going to be as under the radar as she was last year. So I can't use that. So because of that, I'm going to have to change my answer up a little bit, John. Did my talking there give you a chance to think of who you wanted to pick?
I already knew, brother. I was going to go with Rachel Evers.
I kind of figured you would go with her, actually, because you really loved her match against Matsumoto.
I did. I really did.
Hello?
Yeah, no, did you not hear? I said I did. I really did. And then I was waiting for you to give your answer. So
I heard you say I did. I really did. But then I thought you were going to keep going. I didn't realize you were done.
No. It's all you, brother. I'm waiting for your answer.
Oh, okay. You know what? Let me actually tell you guys what. I am going to just pull up the Mae Young Classic bracket. Actually, I don't need to pull it up. I have a printed paper sheet of it right here. Ha 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 ha! Let's see. Oh, Deonna Purrazzo. Easy answer, actually. Deonna Purrazzo is going to be very much overlooked because she lost to Io and she didn't have any like amazing, super great stand-up matches, but she's still a damn good performer in the ring, and she's also signed to NXT, so it wouldn't surprise me if people just kind of forgot about her until she made her NXT debut, and they were like, oh yeah, that's right, she did a thing.
Yeah, so that seems like a good answer to me. I actually really love that. I'm glad I thought of Rachel Evers because she's definitely grown more visibility with me. I guess we can move on to our next question.
All right, next up, we've got four. Oh, no, wait. That was the final question from Cliff. So we got four from Iconic Player One, who has been kind of dipping in and out of chat, unfortunately. I saw earlier he said he lost connection. So hopefully he's got a connection back long enough to be able to hear us answer his questions. First question is for you, John. Is Johnny Scumbag a tsundere? Is that the right way to pronounce that? For Goodfellow, and is simply playing hard to get?
I think it's pronounced tsundere. Yeah, those. I think if I remember the definition of that correctly, it's women that are very cold and callous, but they're looking for affection. They just don't know really how to receive it, kind of thing. They have kindness in there. You just got to really look beyond it. Look beyond the cruelty. That is. I would say, yeah, Goodfellow probably would like those types. He sees the good in everybody, and it's guys. Honestly, it's gross.
Johnny Scumbag type.
Beg pardon?
Is Johnny Scumbag soft and cuddly on the inside?
No. There's just more blackness and more evil. So
So that's a no. That's a hard no.
That's a hard no. Yeah.
Second question from Iconic. This is for both of us. The rest of these are for both of us. How would the WWE and the wrestling landscape change if Triple H left on bad terms and chose to finance a promotion with a good portion of the roster joining him, like what AAA did to CMLL.
I think that would be quite a fracture, honestly. Because he's been pretty much groomed, to really kind of take over. He's really been stepping up. He's been hands-on with the managerial stuff. He's been so attentive to NXT. And here's the thing, when you're that attentive to NXT and you're like leading talents, whether they're indie talents or even just the young people, the developmental half of the developmental system, I think that instills a lot of loyalty. I could actually see a lot of people following Triple H if they knew the money was good. Because money is going to talk in this day and age. But I think he'd get a sizable, respectable following, I think. And I think, it would be huge. I think the whole wrestling world would be talking about it. So, I think it'd be a major deal. And whether he sank or swam, because here's the thing. Triple H has got the mind for it, but you've also got a huge laboratory in the WWE's resources to kind of do all the play that you want, When you go and start out on your own, you got to make your own resources to do the things intellectually that you want to do. And that's always a bit harder. I remember in ECW, I don't know if it was Tommy Dreamer or what, but they said, if only somebody would have taken care of the books, Paul Heyman would have had the time of his life be in the brains. If somebody just managed the finances for him. So I think it'd be big. Would it be practical? I don't know because of what I just considered. But I think, it'd be a huge thing in the wrestling industry. What about you, Ashton?
Yeah, I was actually even thinking about this. And my first thought was like, finance a promotion with what? Like, I get that Triple H has some money, but he doesn't have the kind of money that you would need to really compete with anybody. Like he doesn't really even have the kind of money that you would need to compete with TNA or Lucha. Like he has Ring of Honor money, if that. So I would really question just how competitive a promotion run by Triple H could really even be, unless he got into some kind of like a financial partnership. Like if a business guy wanted to get into the wrestling business, but needed a wrestling guy by his side to figure out how to run it, and Triple H was the wrestling guy in that agreement, it would take off crazy big. It would be amazing. But if it's just Triple H trying to finance it based on all the money that he's made from the WWE over the course of the last 20 years, damn near, I don't really think it would do anything because I don't think he'd be able to afford much. Like, in order to take a good portion of the roster, you have to be able to pay a good portion of the roster. And what WWE is paying them is probably way more than what Triple H would be able to afford. So again, like unless he got into a financial business relationship with somebody that actually has that kind of money, I don't think it would go very far.
Great. Next question.
Choose 5 current top global wrestlers and place them in different wrestling time periods.
Tanahashi, because Hogan was late 80s, right?
Well, and 90s and early 2000s.
Well, like 80s and 90s, but like mid to late 90s was Attitude Era, right? So I'm just trying to keep Golden Era was late 80s, early 90s, right? So I'd put Tanahashi in the Golden Era. Naito.
The first WrestleMania was in 1985.
Okay, so mid 80s. Tanahashi mid 80s.
Big one that Hogan versus Andre happened on was in 88 or 87 rather. So
yeah, I would just put Tanahashi in that era is what I'm getting at. Naito in the Attitude Era. I think he would do really well there with him and LIJ.
So you're taking New Japan guys and putting them in WWE throughout the course of time.
Yeah, I would keep. Let's see. Take a look at some other guys. I would take RVD. I would put him because I don't know. Was RVD ever classified as a junior heavyweight, or was he always above that weight limit? I wonder. I'm sure RVD met that weight limit at some point. I would put him in the junior heavyweight division in New Japan, of the modern age, because you got Will Ospreay and stuff like that. So I would get prime RVD. I would put him in there. That's 3. Fuck me.
RVD is listed at 6 feet, 235 pounds, so he'd be ahead.
So he's just off, huh?
No, he's quite a bit off. Even WCW in the 90s had a weight limit in their junior cruiserweight division of 225. So,
said global wrestlers. You know what? I'll just scrap all that. I honestly would put freaking John Cena in WCW and see how he would do. That would be interesting. I want to give ECW somebody, but I don't know who.
I have someone for ECW, but we're keeping separate lists.
I'll put in ECW, Samoa Joe in ECW. That'll work.
All right, cool.
Do I have one person left, or is that okay?
That was 5.
All right, you go.
You're sending Tanahashi to mid to late 90s WWF, you're sending Naito to late 90s WWF. Did I say 90s? I meant mid to late 80s WWF for Tanahashi. You're sending Naito to Attitude Era WWF.
Yes.
Sending Rob Van Dam. Where were you sending Rob Van Dam again?
Junior heavyweight division in New Japan, but I would just make him a New Japan competitor, period. He could vie for the U.S. title if he's 235.
Who was your third name that you had?
Okay, it was Tanahashi, it was Naito, RVD, John Cena.
Cena, where were you putting Cena again?
WCW, I guess, like in the ratings war. So
okay, and then you put Samoa Joe in ECW. Okay,
yeah.
So my first one, since you ended with ECW, I'll start with ECW. Sammy Callahan to ECW.
Okay.
Tell me that's not a perfect fit.
That is a perfect fit, yeah.
Second one is not even necessarily. Oh yeah, I guess it has to be. It's different wrestling time periods. So I'm going to send Timothy Thatcher to early 2000s WWE Ruthless Aggression era.
Okay, I like that.
Speaking of Ruthless Aggression era, I'm going to go into an alternate timeline and take Chris Benoit from like 2002 and bring him to current day WWE.
Okay.
And hell, maybe that might even save his life because of the amount of research that's been done on brain trauma and shit.
Right.
Let's see. I'm going to take. Let's see. Tomohiro Ishii and put him in 97 WCW.
Ooh.
Cruiserweight, but he will absolutely kick ass even then. And
awesome. Yeah.
Choice, it's going to be kind of a little more random, but I want Billy Robinson in current era New Japan.
Ooh, I like that. All right, let's move on.
All right. Up next, God, where even were we? Here we go. Fourth and final question from Iconic. What are y'all's thoughts on vigilantism?
Honestly, you know, really thinking about myself ideologically and honestly, I support it. I just think it's always got to be guided. It can never be like mindless, you know, like it's always got to be coordinated, calculated. It's got to be thoughtful is the word I'll use. So yeah, I give it a thumbs up, but it's definitely got to be qualified. And no one is just like blanket support, you know. It goes by degrees, I would say. What about you, Ashton?
You know, it's so funny because a lot of the time we'll be watching like TV shows and stuff, and TV shows sometimes have a certain slant that goes out of its way to try and make the viewer feel a certain way about certain political issues. And it's funny because they like the Daredevil and the Jessica Jones and the Punisher, all that stuff. It really does feel like they're almost going out of their way to make the viewers feel like they shouldn't trust the law enforcement and the legal system and the justice system, right? Doesn't it feel like that?
Yeah, I would say so.
The deep irony is that most shows that try and get you to feel a certain way are doing that because they have an agenda and you really shouldn't buy into their bullshit. But in this case, we really can't trust the justice system a lot of the time because to me, like the vigilante that I want is the vigilante that goes after the white collar criminals.
Yeah.
Because they do shit against them.
Right.
So that's the only kind of vigilante that I would be pro.
There you go. All right. So like me, it's qualified for you, but you definitely expounded upon it. So next question.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah, Brandon, Daredevil is a lawyer, but by the end of season 2, he realizes that that's not enough. And he decides to give up his job as a lawyer to focus entirely on his life as Daredevil. So even he realized by the end of season 2 of Daredevil, that like the law shit just isn't doing it. It's just not getting the job done. Because by the end of season 2, he realized like, oh, I put Wilson Fisk in prison and now he owns that prison. Like, yeah, it's not enough. So
right.
Next up, we had 4 questions from Super Blue. First up, if not for my request, would you have live reacted to Super Showdown? No,
wasn't in the cards. Next question.
And as a matter of fact, it actually took us talking you out of asking us to live react to the 3rd hour or the 4th hour or whatever it was. in order for us to not do that. So we didn't want to do that. The second question is for Johnny Scumbag, though. Cut a promos on, and he has Aries, but then he does have in parentheses, or whoever's stupid idea it was for ruining Johnny Impact's moment. So I'll let you guide your own missile. Just know that the heavily speculated rumor now is that it is a work and Impact is in on it too. So
oh, believe me. Yeah, I'm well aware. I fucking hate you people. Like, you really sicken me because always in wrestling, I'm like, well, it's always great for people to work and get paid and support their families. And you try so goddamn hard with every fiber of your being to be the exception to that rule. And if it wasn't for Goodfellow knocking on my door, you already would have been. What kind of a company says to themselves, hey guys, people are talking about us again. Seems to be positive. We finally got some stability. It was a whirlwind there for a while. I mean, no TV station would pick us up because, who wants carcinogenics? Am I right? But we have a lot of goodwill right now. We can make a statement in pro wrestling. New Japan's expanding in the U.S. WWE's making a shit ton of money, but we have something to offer too. We can be an alternative to people that love wrestling. But Bound for Glory's coming up. It's our WrestleMania. We have to swing for the fences. We got to have our shoulders straight. Our posture's got to be tight. What do? Yes. Okay. Johnny Mundo versus Aries. Very personal feud, right? They're using social media. Aries has been very antagonistic. Definitely very real. We've got to listen to that cutting edge stuff. Keep going. Okay. So Impact goes over, right? Wins the championship. So we position the company around him. I mean, with those obliques, who wouldn't continue? But to make Aries seem like a real douchebag heel and a real not nice guy, how about we have him no-sell the finish, flip everyone off, and walk out? That's so beautiful. Let's do it. So, essentially, your brilliant idea was throwing the business back in the face of those that love the business, and that's how you do business. I gotta say, it's become painfully clear to me that the greatest writer you have back there, the greatest creative inspiration you have back there, it isn't Vince Russo. Because I'm even starting to think that's taking the piss out unnecessarily on Russo. No, the greatest creative inspiration you have back there is the carbon monoxide leak in your fucking writer's room. Because I don't understand how you keep doing this to yourself. And then I have to sit here because I was curious. And I watched Joseph Parks' fucking Hall of Fame speech thanking this company and what we built. And then you go and you do a finish like that. And that's why you'll never get anywhere. That's why you'll never be second engine. You will always and forever be third engine. Hell, if all the smaller indies banded together and formed one giant aggregate, you wouldn't even be an engine. You wouldn't be a fucking thing on the vehicle because you're worthless. Honestly, I hate you all so fucking much. I already hate Austin Aries, but this is even making him look bad. Like, it's one thing to be a heel, and it's another thing to be an idiot. Johnny Impact, a guy that obviously I love to death, so I've got personal feelings about that because you made him look like shit. You made End of the World look like the worst finisher in the business when somebody just pops right up and goes back through Gorilla. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Why should I buy him as champion? If anybody can just get up from that finisher, what kind of a ring can I expect him to have? And Austin Aries came with a bit like, why would I even want to see him? Because every time I see him now, I'm going to remind myself, oh yeah, that's right. This is scripted. Like, we already know that. But what about the uninitiated? Like, how many childhoods did you genuinely ruin? Like, how he got back up? I don't understand. I thought it was... And then they start piecing it together. And all for what? Your fucking ratings pop? It's going to last 1 week? You don't deserve to win. You don't deserve to succeed. You don't deserve to be an alternative for people that are passionate and give a shit about this because it's a fucking insult to their craft. And, for all the shit that Jim Cornette gets, and I'm not saying it's undeserved, I understand him at times like this. Honest to God, I do. I understand the pains that he has watching the wrestling business when you see this asinine fuck shit. God, you're fucking... Oh, my God. I hate you. I hate you. Die in a fire. Really. Like, the sooner you die, the better the business becomes. Because holy fuck, to say you're a stain on it, that's understating it. You're an abomination of the utmost degree. And the idea that you've existed this long, you're like... You're my father in the form of professional wrestling. It amazes me that you're still going for all the stupid shit you've done to yourself. But the sooner you die, the happier we'll all be. Go fuck yourselves. That's my rant for you. What's our next question?
You know, when you did that whole bit where you had one of the writers explaining what they were going to have happen, I really thought you were going to channel Dumb and Dumber and have the guy that originally posed the question be like, just when I thought you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you say something like that and totally redeem yourself.
That really probably is how it fucking went. God, I hate this company.
Third question is actually just for me. How do you feel about the NFL season so far and John Gruden's mistake returning to the NFL? Okay, so first of all, I don't think that it was a mistake for John Gruden to return to the NFL. I just think that he has a plan that he has the time to be able to execute, and people expected him to come in and just immediately make the Raiders great. Because the thing is, like, John Gruden got a 10-year, was it $10 million or $100 million contract? Let me actually look that up. John Gruden contract. John Gruden's contract was $100 million over 10 years. So in other words, because of the sunk cost fallacy, Oakland will not part ways with him for at least 8 of those years, if I had to guess. I mean, if he is really terrible by year 8 or 9, then they'll probably think about, like, okay, guys, like, we've sunk $80 million into this guy. We only have $20 million left. Let's just eat that. We have to let him go. We have to get a new coach. But he knows that he is in there for the long haul. He probably even knows that he's going to be there longer than their GM, Reggie McKenzie, is going to be there because of the amount of money that they sunk into him as an investment. So that being said, he has 3 first-round picks in the 2019 draft and 2 first-round picks now in the 2020 draft. And he's probably not even done because he's already talked. We've already heard talks of him wanting to trade Carl Joseph, who will probably warrant a first or second round pick. And there have been rumors that he's thinking about trying to get rid of Derek Carr, who, even though he's not played well this season, is still probably a good enough quarterback to warrant a first round pick from a QB needy team in the NFL. So John Gruden is not a bad coach. He didn't make a mistake coming back to the NFL. I think that people are misguided for expecting him to come in with a 10-year, $100 million contract, which is ridiculous for a head coach who hasn't coached in 15 goddamn years. Or I guess it's 10 now, because I think he stopped coaching in like 08 or 09. But he hasn't been successful in 15 because he won a Super Bowl in 03 in his first year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and hasn't done shit since. But that doesn't mean anything. My point is, John Gruden, even as an offensive play coordinator, an offensive play caller, whatever you want to call him, has been surprisingly contemporary with the offensive concepts that he's been pulling out. Like, Derek Carr hasn't played well, but John Gruden has actually called a relatively contemporary offense for this team. And it's really shocking to me because, I mean, you can even you can look at the next gen stats, and next gen stats now has a stat called expected completion percentage, which basically tells you that they use like 10 different fields. Like they look at how far the nearest defender is to the quarterback when he throws the ball, how fast the quarterback's moving when he throws the ball, who the nearest defender is to the receiver when he catches the ball, how close to the sideline the receiver. Like, there are 10 different factors that go into this. And it basically tells you how likely a pass is to be completed. And they use that to come up with what a player's expected completion percentage is. And Derek Carr's expected completion percentage is the highest in the league, which means that it's very likely that the Raiders offense is one of the best designed offenses in the league. So it's not like John Gruden is like living in the past and calling a playbook from like the 90s or some shit like that. He's still doing a good job. So I don't think it was a mistake for him to come back. He's just got a long-term plan in place that probably won't really come to fruition until like 2020, maybe even 2021. So we'll see how it starts shaping up then. But the other part of the question, how do you feel about the NFL season so far? It's been fun, man. Lots of offense, lots of points getting scored. I think that's going to slow down for the second half of the season, but so far it's been fun. I'm waiting for a team to finally knock the Rams off of their perch. And I actually have a question about that later from Ella. But yeah, it's been fun so far. I absolutely love that Patrick Mahomes is tearing it up right now. And I really hope Baker Mayfield turns it around because he's an extremely talented quarterback. and he just needs an even somewhat competent play caller. Because again, we want to go back to the expected completion percentage. Baker Mayfield's is like middle of the league-ish. It should be it should probably be a lot higher. So yeah, that's disappointing. But the Browns' offense is not very well designed or called well. I actually saw excuse me, I actually saw a tweet the other day. The Browns, after either a first down incompletion or a first down sack, are the most likely team to run the ball on 2nd and 10 or more, which is absolutely terrible play calling. So, yeah, the Browns aren't a very good team, all that stuff. So, yeah, guys, I'm going to end it there because I'm already losing chat. So I'm going to move on. Thank you for the football question, though, Super Blue. So 4th and final question from Super Blue. Do you think the Bullet Club Elite is coming to WWE? And then he also had in parentheses, I hope NXT is as far as they'll go because Vince will end their careers.
I'm seriously starting to think they will, actually.
Yeah, the funniest thing is, Super Blue, man. Super Blue and we are just wired differently because he's like, oh, John Gruden made a mistake returning to the NFL. And just like, yeah, not really. And then he's just like, oh, by the way, I really hope the Bullet Club Elite don't go further than NXT because Vince is going to ruin their careers. And I'm over here like, you do realize, like, these guys are Vince's biggest competition. Like, Vince would love to get his hands on these guys, not to ruin their careers, but to make money from them. These guys have been the most successful businessmen in the wrestling world that haven't been in WWE for the last, 15, 20 years, probably. They have been absolutely killing it without the WWE machine behind them. And I guarantee you that when, and I say when because I do expect them to come to WWE as well, when they come to WWE, they won't even be in NXT. They're going right to the main roster, brother. They're probably going to be on SmackDown. Fox, baby!
I mean, and brother, I got to say this too, and I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off and I'm going to say it. I always say, no matter the circumstance, one person's misfortune is another person's opportunity. Given the Roman Reigns situation, and I hate to put it in these terms, this might be the perfect time for Kenny Omega and company to go. Because there is now a huge spot to be that guy. And Kenny is one of those people like AJ Styles where he wants to be the guy in every place that he goes. So with that huge vacuum, because believe me, folks, it is a huge vacuum with all the time, promotion, everything that WWE poured into Reigns. Kenny Omega, if he's not from a business perspective, again, I hate to speak in these terms, I kind of feel dirty, but if he's not from a pure business perspective thinking, oh my God, this is our chance to really make the program about us, especially SmackDown with what you've been telling me, Ashton, with, Fox buying them and stuff like that. And then potentially getting promoted on fucking NFL games.
Yeah.
It's time. If you're looking at it from pure pragmatics and how much money can I make? Can I protect my brand? Can I protect my image? This is the moment. So I agree with Super Blue. I agree with more with you, Ashton, because they're going to fucking forego NXT. They're going to go presumably on SmackDown, and that's going to be their show. That is going to be their show.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even be surprised if they moved Balor over to that show so that we can have just all the New Japan guys on one show. Because then you would have Balor, AJ, Gallows, Anderson, Nakamura, Kenny, and the Bucks all on one show.
Yeah, dude, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So it would be like 2014 or 2013 New Japan Redux in WWE on SmackDown on Fox.
Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say about it. We can move on to our next set of questions.
All right. Our next set of questions are from Thomas Oliver. First question: in New Japan, do you think they should have one set of tag titles, or is there benefit having junior and heavyweight tag titles?
I think there's benefit because you can always tell the story of when somebody transitions from one division to the other, like they did with the Young Bucks. So I'm fine with it as is because I think you add another narrative layer of okay, I've done everything I can in this division. Time to level up and see what I can do, in this division. So I'm fine with things as they are in the tag divisions.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing too. Is with New Japan, they are a very sports presentation already. They are everything that Fox allegedly wants SmackDown to be already. And part of the reason that they can pull that off is because they have weight classes. So, yeah, I definitely think that it helps with their sports-like presentation for sure. Second question from Thomas Oliver. Who would you like to see in the World Tag League this year, and who do you want to win?
What would be a good LIJ tandem with Shingo?
I think Shingo's actually in the Junior Tag League with Bushi.
Okay, so I'm hoping they win that, but World Tag.
So it would probably just be Evil and Sonata, and then I'm guessing Naito teams up with Rush again.
You know what? Since they're a tag team that's really endeared themselves to me, and it's World Tag League, so it's more heavyweights, let's go Ishii and Yano. I fucking love Ishii. I'm going to support him in anything that he's a part of, so I'm just going to go with that team. But wasn't the question what team would you like to see in World Tag League, or was it win?
No, well, that's part of. They said who would you like to see in the World Tag League this year, and then also who would you want to see win?
Okay, so win, I'll go Ishii and Yano because they're adorable, and Ishii should be pushed in every context. But what I like to see, get Suzuki and ZSJ in World Tag League together.
Oh, yes.
That's my answer. So now I'm going to hand it over to Ashton because I'm not going to do better than that.
Okay, the team that I want to see, and it's really just because they're my two favorite ROH guys now that one of them is an ROH guy, not a Lucha Underground guy anymore, Jeff Cobb and Dalton Castle.
Ooh, I like that, dude. That's clever.
Yeah, so Jeff Cobb and Dalton Castle would be my team. And as far as who I would want to win, oh, God. I mean, fuck it. If Suzuki and ZSJ are in, I want them to win. Fuck that. I mean, that's a perfect yes, please.
Your face is perfect. Let's move
on.
Oh,
my
God. Next question.
Third question from Thomas Oliver. Do you think Dijak went to NXT too early and should have took a different route? Maybe went to New Japan for a few years? I'm going to go first on this. So I actually would argue that he went there too late. I think Dijak's already like 31 years old. Let me look. Here we go. Dominic Dijak. Yeah, he's 31 years old already. So if anything, I would say he went a little bit late because a lot of the guys that get there at like 26, 27, 28, 29, and he got there at 30 or 31. So if anything, I would argue he went there a little bit late. And I also think that you can make an argument that he's been impressive enough, like in like Ring of Honor and PWG and stuff like that, to have been scouted by WWE a long time ago. So it doesn't really make sense that it took them so long to go after him. But no, I definitely don't think he went there too early because I think that he was ready for WWE like 3 or 4 years ago.
Really, I more agree with Ashton, but you know, outside of the whole age, you know, you look at the timing, just all the talent that are dominating NXT right now, and Dijak to me just kind of caught a bit of a rough break. But you know what though, I think Dijak may be similar to Andrade because we know Andrade wanted to quit, and Del Bitchbag was like, "No, stay." That was the only good thing he's ever done for me. And then Andrade got his due. I think if Dijak is patient, he'll get his due. So it's just a matter of waiting things out. And I know it's frustrating because we know how good he can be. But right now, he's just not a priority, which is a shame. But you can also understand where NXT's coming from, given where their priorities are. So I think you just got to wait it out, and things will get better.
All right. Yeah, well, next, our fourth and final question from Thomas Oliver. Would you like to see L.A. Park and his son in Lucha Underground?
Honestly, since I'm not familiar with them, that's actually going to lead me to say yes. Because any new talents on Lucha Underground, I'm always up for new experiences, new exposures. So I'll just say sure. Yeah, anything Lucha Underground has to throw at us, I'm ready for it.
And I'm just going to say no answer because I'm also very ignorant on the matter and less open to new things than John.
Hooray, maybe. Next question. I'm like, wait, shit.
We've got 4 from Mark. First up, thoughts on the Roman Reigns situation. Here we go.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to keep this very succinct, and it comes down to 3 points. 1, I hope he beats it, obviously. Like, that's just a very human response. Like, you want to see people.
Yeah, because that's, I've done, like, the thing is with me and John, when we find out that somebody has some kind of illness or sickness, our first instinct isn't to go online and wish them the best and say thoughts and prayers. Our first instinct is to research, to see, what their diagnosis is and how long it's going to take for them to recover. And in this case, what their odds of even recovering are, because relapsed leukemia is like fucking terrible. Like, I've seen survival rate numbers as low as like 5%.
Yeah. And this was after like 11 years of remission. That's what makes it even more heartbreaking. But I'm not going to.
Well, the one thing that I did see was that if you have a remission of longer than like 3 years, your odds of survival and relapse go up.
Yeah. I'd see the thing is, though, from what I read about certain types of epilepsy, like it's more heartbreaking for him because they're normally like, oh, if you have a remission of 5 years, then you may even like be in the clear. And he went 11 years and it still came back.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go on and on about it because the climate, like.
By the way, I'm assuming you meant leukemia. You said epilepsy, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw an article on my Facebook feed about epilepsy. And that got me thinking about it. I apologize. Leukemia. But I'm not going to go on and on about it because that's been kind of annoying me from the climate. A lot of people are genuine. Others, I think, are more opportunistic. Just calling it like I see it. Second point. I had 3 points, and now I feel like I'm going to forget the third. But my second point being, and again, I hate talking in these terms, but I'm just being honest. This is a huge opportunity for every talent that isn't Roman Reigns right now. If you wanted to be the guy or whatever, and you were disheartened because you're like, oh, there's Roman, there goes my chance, and probably just my one and only chance for the next 10 years. This is really something astounding. Obviously, you want it to be under better circumstances, maybe something to do with personal responsibility or something like that. This is just the indifference of the universe kind of thing. But that doesn't make the opportunity any less viable. If I'm Seth Rollins, if I'm Braun Strowman, if I'm Elias, if I'm anybody, Finn Balor, I'm gunning for that fucking spot. Hell, Becky, the way she's carrying herself with those Rhea Ripley interactions on Twitter, she's like, you're a little girl, you're a woman, I'm a woman being the man. I love that. Even if you're a woman like Ronda Rousey or whatever, you want to be that person, especially in this climate where it's more like egalitarian or allegedly egalitarian. You want to gun for that spot. And that does actually kind of tie in. I remember what the third thing was going to be. For WWE as a whole, it is a tragedy. I'm not denying that. But getting beyond that, this could be a new epoch for them, the same way that whole ruthless aggression speech ushered in a new era. From great tragedy comes great fortune. And WWE, they've been making some moves that are questionable, with the Saudi deal and everything, which I'm not even going to touch that. But if they're really looking to give it everything they've got, now is the time to do it. You've got a heel Dean Ambrose, babyface Elias. Braun Strowman's back to where he belongs as a babyface. The heel turn, honestly, really never made that much sense to me. KO and Sammy are going to come back eventually. They've heard about this news. News travels fast. Everybody knows it. They're going to come back hungry too. And I really would think that with this vacuum, I would want to see the best, not just out of everybody like out front, but in the back, in the writer's room creatively, because they are going to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks until they stabilize again. And honestly, when they stabilize, again, if I'm being truthful, if not cynical, that may be a period of mourning for us, because then they're just comfortable again and they're ensconced in a certain way of like writing and presentation. But this is an up in the air moment. This is a chaotic period. And with chaos, I think, comes great television. I wish the chaos came a different way. But yeah, those are my 3 points on it. I think it is a tragedy for Roman and just for human beings when you see another human being suffer. But if you were to divorce yourself from that and look at it abstractly, this is a golden opportunity for every talent that was kind of watching Roman in that spot. And this is a great opportunity for us wrestling fans to really see a product with some vitality to it. And that's just honestly how I feel. So I'm just going to hand it over to Ashton to give any thoughts that he has.
Yeah. So obviously it is very tragic. And the most tragic thing is that, like, this is a situation where Roman might not even survive. This isn't like, oh, is it going to be the end of his career? Or, oh, is he going to be out 4 months or 2 years? This is a situation where he might die from this. Like, straight up, this could be the end of Joe Anoa'i's life, not just the end of his career. So it kind of does make any kind of attempt at capitalizing on it really shitty. And like, we've seen people go out of, like, we literally have seen people like doing YouTube reviews saying, oh, like the video for Joe or like the video for Roman or whatever. It's like, no, fuck you. Stop trying to capitalize on this dude's actual life-threatening illness. Like, that's so fucked up to me.
Yeah, that's very infuriating.
Really. The reason I didn't make a video about it, because we are, at the end of the day, we technically, even if it's not much, we technically make money from making YouTube videos. And even if most of our money comes from Patreon and super chats, the idea of trying to monetize somebody else coming down with something as fatal or potentially fatal as leukemia, and not just leukemia, but relapse leukemia, I don't think either one of us could stomach trying to do that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's why we didn't want to talk too much about it in other videos. And that's why we didn't want to make a separate video about it and all that stuff. And then we also saw that we got this question. So that gave us the perfect opportunity to answer it in Q&A here today. and have it kind of be, we can address it so that the people that really are like hardcore TWitWoW fans that really just want to know our thoughts on it, you'll be able to hear what we say about it. And we're not trying to like clickbait our way into getting people to hear what we have to say about it, because quite frankly, that's gross. But yeah, so Roman, if he gets back, thank Christ, it's so good if he would be able to come back healthy.
Absolutely.
It's like a Daniel Bryan situation. We don't see him for 3 years. I even told you, like, if he's still alive by like the end of February or March, he's probably going to live through it, which is great news. But that also potentially means that come February or March, shit might hit the fan,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, as far as like just WWE as like a landscape, I mean, shit. First of all, like you said, this opens up a vacuum. It really is a vacuum. Like I was going to say a spot, but it's so much more than just a spot, because really, Hypothesis even said earlier, Roman's condition is why WWE mustn't keep putting their eggs in one basket. I tweeted the other night, the absence of Roman Reigns could very well create a new, almost like a new Fortunate Four with Seth Rollins, Seth Rollins, Elias, Braun Strowman, and Finn Balor being like a potential Fortunate Four, more like top 4 baby faces, not necessarily just for the Raw brand, but for the company as a whole.
Right.
Vince got burned by Brock, and now unintentionally burned by Roman. Obviously, Roman didn't try to burn Vince, but at the end of the day, when Vince puts literally all of his eggs in one basket, and that basket happens to have leukemia, Vince is fucked.
Yeah.
So Vince has invested everything for the last 4 years on Roman, and the thing is, like, we have no problem saying "told you so," and it sucks that it's in this specific situation. But fuck you, Vince. We told you so. We told you not to invest in one guy, and it didn't even have to be this. It could have been anything. If Roman would have been in a car accident, if Roman, like you said, with the self-responsibility thing, if he would have violated the wellness policy again, it would have been his second strike. Then he would have been 1 strike away from being fired. So, like, again, Vince, putting all of your eggs in one basket comes back to bite you again. Stop doing it. Spread the love. Invent a way for yourself to believe that it's possible to create more than 1 star. You need more than 1 star, because then if you have multiple stars and one of them gets leukemia or gets in a car accident or violates the wellness policy or whatever it is, it matters less.
Yeah.
It's like Vince is a fucking billionaire and he doesn't even understand the idea of diversifying your portfolio.
I mean, dude, I just gotta cut in real quick, and I'm not even trying to joke. Like, Vince may benefit from seeing a therapist, dude, because the Brock departure and Austin, that must have done something to him psychologically that he has just not gotten over it. Right. Like, somebody this committed and this anal about 1 top star at a time, there is something deeper going on there than just like all this stuff. Because I've never seen anything like. I mean, you just said the guy's a billionaire. And any investor, anybody that deals with money for a living will tell you, again, to use the Hypothesis phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify those assets. The idea that Vince is one of the few billionaires that does this, in fact, maybe even the only billionaire that does this, really is incredulous to me. But please continue. I just had to interject with that because it's my mind.
Right. So that really all that I'm saying is I'm agreeing with John as far as there being a vacuum at the top now. And like, it's really unfortunate that it took something this tragic happening for the WWE to finally give everyone what we've ever wanted. Because the night that this happened, we got an Elias face turn, we got a Braun Strowman face turn, and we got Dean's heel turn, all in that same night. That was like, and the thing is, like, that episode of Raw wasn't even good, but we got those 3 things, and it made people love that episode of Raw because of it.
Yeah.
Like, that Raw was boring as hell, and I watched the Monday Night Football game more than I watched Raw because of it, because like Raw just kept on trotting out the fucking Bellas for 5-minute promos, and I'm just like, no, I'm out. I don't have to watch this right now, and I won't, so I'm out. So I did, I did a lot of flipping that night, and I managed to catch the Elias face turn. I saw Braun come out and get attacked by Drew. I saw the very end of the show with Dean turning heel on Seth, and we'll talk more about that later. But like all this stuff happened this night, and it's not a coincidence. It's because WWE. Oh, and by the way, Bobby Lashley lost to Finn Balor. Like Bobby just recently turned heel. He's getting momentum, and they immediately tonight had Balor beat him clean. So that's another bit. That's why I said, like, we've got a new Fortunate Four. Balor, Strowman, Elias, and Seth are going to be the biggest deals. And I don't even know which one of those four is the most over right now. Elias might be the most over out of those four.
Yeah, he just might be. That's why I think it's beautiful that he turned. Like, again, I hate speaking about it in those terms because, like Ashton said, it's a tragedy that it took this.
Yeah.
It took this for the powder keg to explode and for everybody to, climb up the ladder and try and grab the brass ring. But Vince was only permitting one person to climb at a time. So to everybody, I say, fucking go for it. If you've ever had work or a character or whatever you want to do, we hear guys like Austin and others say that, oh, there's this culture of trepidation backstage. Like everybody's afraid to, step on eggshells or talk to Vince. Fucking talk to him. Like somebody needs to, because you see stuff like this. And I don't know. I think the next few months of television, especially because, dude, you figure this is October, right? By January, we're on the road to WrestleMania without Roman Reigns.
Right.
Like, that's huge to me. He's not a guarantee main event this year. I've even heard some people say that Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose could be the main event this year. Like, it's wide fucking open. Go out and take it. That if you want to make a positive out of this, that's how you do it. Like, just go and just give it everything. So, yeah, man, crazy.
Yeah, and like, I just saw Iconic Player One in chat say, I see Seth, Strowman, McIntyre, and Balor as the next big four. Do not sleep on babyface Elias, because, I mean, excuse me, we've been seeing Elias with the ability to manipulate crowds at his whim for months now. Like, he has those crowds in the palm of his hand. And if he just does his thing and plays music and sings his songs, but he doesn't attack the local sports team or the local city, and instead he targets that creative direction at attacking his heel opponent that night, we could have another Rock on our hands, for Christ's sake.
I'll say this too, just to kind of respond to Iconic myself. I will keep, because, Ashton said, and I definitely agree with him, I will keep all those people in the conversation, Seth and Balor. But if we also think about how these performers work, I think fucking Strowman and Elias also have the best chance there, because they work a style that I think isn't going to get them as injured as often. And that means that they have longevity. Longevity means you get promoted more, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So really, I would even say, I'll agree with all those guys. I'm not taking anybody out. But if we're making tiers, I would say it really comes down to Strowman and Elias because of the styles they work that WWE finds far more attractive for a
and Strowman, I don't think Strowman, as far as within WWE at least, and really anywhere, I don't think Strowman can ever be what Vince would deem to be the guy, like the top babyface, because maybe in the 80s when everyone was 6'8", maybe, but it's like he's the biggest dude on the Raw roster. You can't have a giant also be a sympathetic underdog babyface. That's not a thing.
Right. Yeah.
To me, Strowman is going to be, and I hate to even make this comparison because I know that nobody ever pays any attention to nuance. So it's just going to get fucking generalized and derailed. But I think in the sense that he's going to have a lot of turns because they're going to need him to play certain roles depending on the time of the year that it is and who gets injured and who is healthy and stuff like that. I think Strowman is more of a Big Show than a Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I could see where you're coming from with that. Absolutely. Because look, they needed Strowman to be a heel with, Roman having the title and stuff. They turned him heel. Roman gets taken out of the picture, immediately back to being a face. He is that he's that multi-tool player that can fit into any situation that WWE would need. So
right. Title run. So it's not like I'm saying Strowman is never going to be world champion or anything like that. But when you are this gigantic human mountain and you're this intimidating looking dude, yeah, we get it. You're charming and you're kind of goofy and you're likable, but you're also super dominant in the ring. And it's really hard for the casual viewing audience to really get behind somebody just squashing people.
So yeah, I mean, people have been talking about Drew. I mean, obviously Drew, like, you know, chiseled from fucking granite.
Include Drew in that is because he's still heel. He's one of the few guys that we want to see get a top babyface run that didn't turn face on Monday.
Yeah, but give him time. It'll come. Because really, to me, I think he'll be heel. He may even be heel for another year, but that face turn is coming, and they may pull the trigger and go all out. But I really
do think that like we even have a question later about like who's going to be the next, like who's going to take that like Cena/Roman spot. And I mean, spoiler alert, but if I had to answer that question with a gun to my head, my first choice would probably be Drew.
And I would agree. So in a way, I already consider that question answered. Like we might as well just encompass like that question with it. We just really had a big discussion.
Well, to be fair, that question's a little bit more complex than that, but that's part of it.
Right. So I've got nothing else to say about the Roman Reigns situation. Yeah. We can move on.
So second question from Mark, thoughts on the Dean heel turn, and would it be interesting if through it all they still held on to the tag titles?
Can I please go first on this?
Absolutely, man.
I fucking loved it. Guys, to tell you how much I loved it and why I wanted to go first, I was so inspired by Dean finally getting a heel run. I went back and no lie, I listened to over an hour's worth of Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose promos. And like, he is so fucking good. I hope he's able to tap into at least a fraction of that now that he's a heel. I thought the beatdown was great. I thought it came at a perfect time. There are people that are like, oh, how callous by WWE. You can accuse them of being callous in a lot of instances. This, I just feel like, was them reacting to a very grave situation. This is actually something I don't blame them for. And Dean, I think he could really be the top heel on Monday Night Raw. And as far as the tag title question, because I've been thinking about that too, I actually do hope that they still go on a semi-lengthy run with him. I hope it doesn't get sabotaged right away. I hope that like it's a team where we hate each other, but we hate losing even more. So like even if we try and like sabotage each other, we'll still try and go for the win to say, well, you know, in a less cutesy way, I'm the tag team champions. So I would love that. I would love that while they're tag champions, the real tension lies in the Intercontinental title. And like they maybe kind of trade that back and forth. And even if not trade, maybe Dean beats him for it and he hangs on to it. And Seth's just kind of leering at that IC title. But he's like, oh, well, you know, one championship's better than no championships. I want him to keep the titles. And I want it to be a foundation for a lot of tension and a lot of animosity between these two. But I fucking love that Dean's finally turned heel. You know, Ashton, how long I've been asking for it. I think this is going to be the best run of his career if WWE allows it to be. And again, to kind of fall back on the prior question, if there was ever a time for WWE to kind of, you know, loosen that grip, it would be now. Let Dean be Dean. Let him work that mic. Again, folks, over an hour of promo material. I saw this guy's range as both a babyface and especially as a heel. He can do it. Trust him to do it. You won't be sorry. So, yeah, I fucking love it. But now I'm going to hand it over to you, Ashton. What do you think about this?
Dude, I just want to say, like, trying to take advantage of the Roman situation and trying to like monetize that, I think is a really shitty thing to do. But, and this is a big but, because you will not see me defending WWE often, if ever.
Right.
The way that they went about this was fucking brilliant. Because not only did you catch the audience with their guard down, because it's like, oh, Romans, the whole Roman thing happened. They're going to send the crowd home happy kind of thing. And then that happened. Not only do you get that situation, but it even works from a storyline standpoint. Like, even if we take Joe out of the equation and just think about him as Roman is gone for a while now. Like, I would say minimum 6 months, if not up to years, he'll be gone, right? And that being said, what if the only reason Dean hadn't done this earlier was because he cared about the Shield as an entity? And now that Roman's gone, the Shield reunion can't be any longer. It's done. It's dead. So why the hell would Dean keep his shit contained when he's got shit that he needs worked out, when it's not even necessarily for the greater good anymore? Like, at that point, Roman was the only thing keeping the Shield together as far as the storyline goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, yeah, like him leaving. And the thing is, like, I love when heels can justify their actions. And Dean has so many justifications for attacking Seth. First of all, I still haven't forgiven you for turning your back on the Shield in the first place. Second of all, I got injured. I tore my shoulder or my whatever it was. What was it? A rotator cuff? Whatever it was. I don't know what it fucking was. I was injured. I was out for 9 months. And what was the first thing you did? Found a new partner and went back after the tag titles. You know, it's funny because our brother just got the worst news of his life. And the first thing you care about is getting tag team gold. Are you kidding me right now? Third of all, oh, by the way, Seth, you know how you said, oh, I'm on lunatic time. Well, yeah, maybe I just leaned into that a little bit. So, like, he's got so much material to work with. It's incredible.
Just to bounce off you very quickly, one of my favorite moments of the beatdown, because you best believe I masturbated to that shit multiple times, is when he takes the tag titles and he throws both of them at Seth and he tells him, this is all you care about, right? So he may even mention the Jason Jordan thing. And when Seth... They had a great visual of Seth that was pretty incriminating. When he won the tag titles, he held both of his titles up and he kissed the tag titles. So, like, wow, way to love that gold, Seth. I don't know. Dude, you laid it all out. And I even said one of the best parts of the turn is when Dean's walking amongst the crowd shirtless, and one guy's like, he has every right to turn. He has a reason. I'm like, you do you, guy. So, yeah.
And the thing is, like, Dean, even during the beatdown, he kept saying, you know, you watch your mouth. You asked for this.
Suck it up, you asked for this.
Yeah, like, he kept saying stuff like that. And wow, John, you were really into that.
Look, hey, man, hey, it was fucking great. But yeah, just...
yeah. It was great. I really, like... one of the most well-executed turns and one of the most well-executed segments that the WWE has produced in, I want to say months, but it might even be years.
Yeah, this was fantastic.
All right. So, and as far as whether they'll still hold on the tag titles, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they might even forfeit the tag titles within the first month or just lose them outright within the first month. So John and I have opposite takes on that.
God, I hope you're wrong. Like, for once, I'm actively rooting for you to be wrong here because I think
that's fair though. Third question from Mark: what are your thoughts on Charlotte's ex-husband lawsuit against her in WWE?
It's just more petty legal bullshit. I really got nothing to say beyond that. If the guy can get a payday from it, good for him. I honestly don't care.
I hope Charlotte costs the WWE exactly as much money as it would require for them to stop fucking pushing her.
There you go. Next question.
Next question from Mark is the fourth and final question from Mark. What are some of the funniest / best moments you've had playing Rocket League?
Any moment where I hear Ashton actively despair, because his despairing voice is amazing, and he knows it. He knows I'm not even lying. He knows I'm not even lying. See right there. He knows I'm not even lying. It's great where he's like, oh yes, oh no, and he really draws it out. It's really, guys, it's amazing. You have to be there. It might be the most worthwhile to start a Twitch channel just so you can actively hear the moments that his heart breaks, which isn't just, I don't have any, because I certainly do. It's just
you don't even care about him though. Like last night, I could definitely tell that you were getting really emotionally like torn up by giving up goals. But like half the time, you give up a goal and you do your like entertaining, like comedic. No,
those are my mannerisms.
But yeah, for me though, like I'm very vocal when we play Rocket League.
Yeah.
Like really vocal. Like I express everything I feel. That's like my time to kind of come unglued and just say whatever comes to my mind. And yeah, so like last night we had a moment where I was about to score and then I saw that I didn't hit the ball hard enough to go into the goal and they were heading for it. So I was like, no. And then they missed, and I was like, yes! And then I hit it, and then I saw that one of them hit it, and I was like, no! But then they hit it into my face, so I was like, yes! And then they hit it again, so it was back to no, and it was just back and forth. And I said no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, probably 6 times over the course of like 3 seconds. It was like Muhammad Ali throwing 10 punches in 3 seconds. It was like immediately like just reactions off the bat. And then like, of course, anytime I feel like a goal was given up that shouldn't have been, it's always like a no.
It does do that, yeah.
And John dies every time I do that. As far as like most entertaining shit for me, the funniest shit usually is just like when we make one of them look fucking goofy. Like,
yeah.
Like when you run up on a ball and just tap it and they were like going for the ball full speed and they just fly past you because they thought they were going to hit it and you just make them barely miss and then you're able to follow up. That's amazing. As far as best moments, really like aerial goals are the tits. I fucking love scoring aerial goals. They feel so good.
Yeah, and for me, I would definitely say like any epic save since I spend most of my time in goal. I got one, I'd say it was 2 nights ago, where the back of my car, like, you know, the tailpipe and all that, like that hit the ball and got the save. And I was like elated because my aim and my timing is never that good when I'm not directly facing the ball. So to know that I actually did it there was definitely a highlight for me. That was really cool. So
yeah, and that was another thing too. Like for me, anytime I either score a goal or save a shot while in ball cam, like going backwards while in ball cam, like going towards the ball without being able to like face it, that's like a huge highlight for me. I always freak out about that. So that'll be all we talk about as far as Rocket League goes. But then we've got 2 questions from Sean. First off, what's next for the Raw Tag Team titles?
Here's the thing. Realistically, Ashton probably is correct. I would just love if they broke the mold and they actually did have a lengthy reign, but they probably will drop them. Maybe they'll even drop them to AOP. So either that or, you know what, they'll probably drop them back to Dolph and Drew, probably. So I'm actually going to go with the very conservative stance. I'll say Dolph and Drew regain the tag titles.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm just going to sign on to that. So next up, second question from Sean. And this is the one that I was referring to earlier, the question that I was referring to earlier. Who will be put in the Cena/Reigns spot next? And then his second part of that was, should there be anyone put in the Reigns/Cena spot at all?
To the second part, since we already kind of answered the first part, I'm standing by Drew because I think he was made for that spot. But again, you should always have a second tier, always waiting in the wings. No all eggs in one basket philosophy. But as far as should anybody be in that spot, I hate to come off as callous, but of course, it's business. It's a wrestling business. There's always got to be just that one person. I mean, again, always all those people waiting in the wings, but that one person is like, yeah, this is the face of an era. And, you know, it was going to be Reigns. For everything they poured into it, it was Reigns. And it's tragic what happened. But, yeah, you got to keep business moving. To me, it would be ludicrous and it would be counterproductive to everything, you know, they worked for with him and everything he strove to, you know, make good on with the investment if you just kind of kept that position on hold for him. You know, like, no, time marches forward. I even commented on one forum. I said, look, WWE weathered the Benoit tragedy. They'll get through this, but you only get through it by doing what you know and dancing with you who brung you with some modifications. But one big thing has always been like, who is going to be that person that we can build it around? And then this will be the support system we have going forward of just all these guys ready to step up at a moment's notice. So, yeah, I think somebody absolutely should take that spot. I encourage them to take that spot. I think that's just the nature of wrestling. So that's what I have to say about that. Ashton, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, you know, I'm kind of thinking like it depends really on Roman's status. Because if Roman gets through the leukemia and comes out on the other side, I think that spot will be waiting for him on the other side. I don't think that he's just going to be done. But if this truly is a new era and we don't see Roman in WWE again, which would be tragic, obviously, but we have to prepare for the possibility. I almost want to say that like Drew and Seth and Elias are too similar to Roman to take that spot. Because over the course of history, every time the WWE has a new face of the company, it always looks like the polar opposite of the last guy that had it, right? Because we went from Hulk Hogan to Bret Hart to Stone Cold Steve Austin to Brock Lesnar, I would say, maybe The Rock, to John Cena, to Roman. And like, no 2 guys on that list look the same or act the same or anything like you could argue that like Roman, Cena, and Hogan are kind of similar, but they all look completely different, right?
Right.
So like Drew and Elias and Seth all look like just smaller, or not in Drew's case, but Seth and Elias look like smaller Romans and Drew looks like a different weird looking Roman. So I almost want to say like none of those guys would be likely to take that spot. I almost want to say like someone like a Balor or someone like that would almost be more likely to take that spot. Now I'm not saying Balor, but like I feel like it's more likely that it would be him than one of the other guys.
Interesting. No, I definitely I like your reasoning though, and I'm definitely like gravitating.
Or maybe we get our first maybe we get someone with a little bit of a darker complexion and it's Velveteen goddamn Dream.
Oh, dude, being as young as he is, like again, probably goes through all the emotions like we all have, but he's probably thinking with those tights, I need mass-produced tights of Call Me Up Vince right away.
Yeah, or hell, I mean, I said darker complexion. Maybe we get someone with a different chromosome. Maybe Becky is.
Yeah, dude, yes.
She's already got the head start. And if WWE decides, okay, we're done pushing against it, we're going to actually get behind Becky now and put the machine behind her, she could easily be the type of top star that Cena and Roman were and that we thought Bayley could potentially be.
Yeah, it would be a radical experiment, but definitely a welcomed one. Just to really position a woman in that kind of spot. Because for as big as Lita and Trish were, the kind of big we're talking about with Becky transcends that to me unequivocally.
Yeah. What's the real end game to the women's evolution, right?
Exactly. It is conversations like this being willed into reality. So let's do it.
All right. So speaking of Becky, our next question, we've got 3 from Ace the Skylord. First up, why is Becky Lynch still portrayed as a heel? Hopefully because the WWE has idiotically decided to keep on trying to get Charlotte over a heel and trying to get Charlotte over as a face and has now realized that she's not goddamn worth it and they're going to change their mind and flip them on Evolution.
What he said. Yeah, I'm still hoping for that double turn in Evolution. If you don't, you deserve to lose. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Next question.
Second question from Ace. If you had to sum up Daniel Bryan's run after he came out of retirement so far in one word, what would that word be?
Decent. I'm still waiting for like a really big story that I can sink my teeth into. I don't know if he'll ever get to that place again, but I know he's enjoying himself. And on that level, I'm immensely happy for him because, again, we take that human emotion into account. But if I'm divorcing myself from that, looking at it as a fan, it's been good. Nothing I'd write home about if I'm truthful, but it's good.
Okay, so you said decent. My one word would be coasting because it feels like he hasn't really been given anything that he can really sink his teeth into yet.
Right. Yeah.
So coasting would be my one word. Third question from Ace. What are the chances that once Tegan gets cleared, WWE puts her in the third NYC and have her win the whole thing? I'm going to go first on this one. Ace, I don't know if you saw Tegan's statement on the injury. She has a torn ACL, a torn LCL, a torn MCL, and 2 torn patellar tendons and a hairline fracture in her tibia, which tells me her recovery is going to take a hell of a lot more than 1 calendar year. So if the WWE does have an NYC 3 in 2019, I don't expect Tegan to be cleared before that. So if you're asking if the WWE would put Tegan in the next NYC that she's cleared for and have her win the whole thing, probably a definite possibility. If you're asking if Tegan will win the NYC 3, if that takes place in 2019, highly, highly doubtful.
Again, I'm going to subscribe to what he said. I think the only change I would make is I don't even know if they'd want to bother with Tegan and NYCs anymore. They may just want to get her on a brand and jumpstart a feud with Rhea Ripley. So I'm just going to say.
And I definitely would, if they would, it would have to be NXT UK. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would expect it to be. I think they're done the Tegan Knox experiment as far as like NYCs go. So I don't see an NYC 3 or 4 or 5. I just think when she is ready, which isn't going to be for a considerable amount of time given the state of the injury, it's just going to be a spot on NXT UK presumably and Rhea Ripley feud. So yeah. My thoughts on that.
And that's definitely possible. All right, so then we've got 2 questions from Jace Fangmeyer. First up, who is the best heel in WWE?
God, after last Monday, it may just
be Dean, right? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, Dean or Ciampa, because you said in WWE. So
yeah, I mean, I was gonna definitely say Ciampa because, I mean, it's Ciampa Daddy. What do you want me to say?
Oh, he said the thing. Next question.
This one I was kind of confused by the wording, but Jace said, "Who is?" This is actually for you specifically, John. Jace wants to know who is the hottest person in WWE.
What?
I was gonna ask though, like hottest as in like most momentum, or hottest as in like physical attractiveness hot.
I assume that Jay's given his nature in chat meant physical attractiveness. So in that respect, I am a thought for Thyler. Because goddamn, what a beautiful specimen that man is. I am thirsty as fuck, and he can be my oasis. So yeah, Thyler Bate's going to be my answer to that, and we can move on to our next set of questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Iconic, he did specifically say person to keep it gender neutral. Weird that he only asked you that question. I'm going to fucking answer it anyway, God damn it.
Wow. Needy.
All right, fine, I won't. Whatever. You guys can just let my sexual preferences just kind of be a mystery.
You were going to say Adam Cole, though, right? I mean...
No, absolutely not. Adam Cole's amazing, but it's not a physical attractiveness thing that makes him amazing.
Are you sure that's not a mistake on your part?
I mean, it might be, but no.
It might be, but no. Okay, that's all I wanted. We can move on.
All right. 4 questions from Sal. First up, what do you think are the top 3 most shocking moments of the last 5 years in WWE?
You know what? How about you go first on this one, bud?
Okay. Last 5 years encompasses 2014 and 2013. So I'm going to say, oh, wow. 2014. I'm going to say 2014. I mean, Shield breakup. That's a pretty big one for me. Let's see. Top 3, what was it? Most shocking moments? Yeah, most shocking moments. You know what, Sal, you're in chat, so you can answer this. When you say in WWE, does it have to be main roster, or can I include NXT as well? Because I would probably have an easier time answering this if it included NXT. But if it's just WWE, the first big one is the Shield breaking up. The second big one, I'm going to say the Festival of Friendship. And you know what? The third one is going to be Finn Balor winning the first ever Universal Championship.
Oh, I like that.
If we're only talking WWE, John, I'll let you go next.
I'm gonna have to steal yours with the Shield breakup because that's just too.
Oh, he said NXT as well. Shit. Well, then we got to include Ciampa turning on Gargano.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So Shield breakup, Ciampa turning on Gargano.
And then the other one that I was gonna say was actually Almas beating Drew for the title.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. What was the question? Okay, 3 most shocking moments. So I'm gonna take Shield. Definitely gotta take Ciampa. So, and I agree with Andrade, but just to be a bit original with the one, honestly, I'm gonna say AJ Styles beating Dean Ambrose for the WWE title. Because I just never really believed that a guy that was the man both in TNA and in New Japan would ever get the kind of, especially at his age, the kind of rub that he got from WWE. So when AJ became world champion, that really made me believe that if your body of work is that impressive, like anything's possible. So I'll do AJ becoming WWE champion for my third one.
Nice. Second question from Sal. Where do you think the evil Morty plotline will go now that he's taken over the Citadel?
Rather than a long, convoluted answer as if I'm booking a storyline, I'm just going to say I do think that Rick and his Morty are going to have to return to the Citadel because, you know, the Ricks are going to be in peril or something, or just going to be destabilized, and they're going to have to confront evil Morty. And then maybe Rick's Morty would have to make a choice between joining the Mortys or sticking with his Rick. I could see that being kind of the emotional conflict of whatever season that is, because Cartoon Network, I think last I read, like ordered 55 episodes or something. Or like 50 episodes, so it's like they've guaranteed themselves pretty much 5+ seasons of the show. So yeah, that's pretty much where I see it going. What about you, Ashton?
You know, I actually had more of a convoluted answer plan for this because I think that I definitely kind of buy into the theory that Evil Morty was Rick 616, his original Morty. Was it 616? The Rick that we follow. I think that Evil Morty was his original Morty.
Yeah.
I subscribe to that theory. And based on that, I feel like Evil Morty as the president of the Citadel, I almost, you know what? I kind of want to say, because here's the thing, like Dan Harmon is extremely liberal and very open and very expressive about his liberalism. C137. Thank you, Sal. And like, he's very like anti-conservative, anti all that stuff on like Twitter and everything. But that being said, I still think that he might be willing to do a little bit of a take on like hard left overt censorship. And I think that there's even a chance that we might get Morty kind of trying to turn the Citadel into a place where, because he sees Morty's as being at a natural disadvantage, he will try and go out of his way to create systematic advantages for them and systematic disadvantages for the Ricks, and kind of try and turn the whole place upside down so that when the Morty and Rick that we're following show up on the Citadel, they just, everything is just out of place to them, and they kind of see it as like, holy shit, like there's a lot of like really weird shit going on here, and that could make for an entire episode in and of itself.
That's very interesting, man. I like that. So next question from Sal.
All right, next question, our third question from Sal. We've got 4. This is just for me, actually. Will Dallas ever, you know what, actually, I had to shorten this for the document, but I'm going to still go into the Discord and read this question word for word because the way he worded it made me laugh. Will the Dallas Cowboys ever get their fucking shit together or forever be a subpar shell of their former selves, never able to reclaim their former glory? I got to tell you, Sal, I think the biggest problem that the Dallas Cowboys are faced with right now is their head coach, Jason Garrett. I think he's a major problem. You know what? Since you care about football and you actually know some stuff about football and you're not like, kind of ignorant to it or anything like that, I am going to use next gen stats again with you. Dak Prescott has the second lowest expected completion percentage in the NFL right now, and he's still outperforming it. He's outperforming it by almost a full percentage point. So what that should tell you is that Jason Garrett and the Dallas offensive play calling and play design is absolutely incompetent, to the point that the only guy with a lower expected completion percentage than Prescott this season was Josh Rosen, and his offensive coordinator got fired last week. So that should tell you how incompetent Jason Garrett has been as a play caller and as a play designer. And I think that once you get a good offensive mind in there to help Dak out, and I also think Amari Cooper is going to help in the long run. This season, they're probably going to be the former shell of themselves that you've been talking about, but their defense has been looking very good, especially their coverage. I believe in Dak Prescott as a quarterback, and I think you'll really just need to get a better offensive mind in there to call the plays and design the plays. And as long as that offensive line holds up, I believe in Dak. I think that Gallup is going to develop into a really good receiver. I love Amari Cooper. Cole Beasley's great out of the slot. They need to get a tight end, but other than that, they are really in a good position going into the future. I really think the Cowboys have a Super Bowl team once they get more competent coaching.
All right. Next question from Sal.
All right. So up next, our 4th and final question from Sal is for you, John. And I'm also going to read this word for word. Why haven't you watched Samurai Jack season 5, you fucking cripple? I'm so sorry. That was rude of me. I love you.
I mean, I'm probably leaving you after that, Sal. Who am I kidding, though? We'll hug 5 minutes later. I haven't watched it, honestly, because I'm so overwhelmed, both in a good way and just like other obligations and responsibilities I have, that I really just don't have the time. I tell Ashton all the time, 24 hours isn't enough. Sleep is an evolutionary crutch. I wish we would get over it and not need it, although I am loving sleep lately with this new comforter I got. But hopefully one day I'll be able to watch the final season. I keep hearing from everybody it was a masterpiece, especially to those that love the original show. But I just really haven't had time yet, and I hope I get that time in the future. So,
all right. Up next, we've got, let's see here. Where were we? Shit, I lost my spot. There we go. 4 questions from Abel.
Oh my God.
You always squee when I say his name. First up, and then these are actually very serious questions too.
Oh shit.
First up, if Hillary Clinton ran for president in 2020 and won, would it be better or worse than Trump being nominated for a second term?
See, and I don't sigh because of you, Abel. You know, I love your face, but like I sigh because I keep saying, like, Trump isn't doing anything that this country like wasn't already like founded on, or like the systems weren't already built in place for. He's just very explicit about it. Like, I feel like every other politician would probably be doing the same shit, maybe with a few degrees dialed back, mind you, but still essentially the same stuff. Like, Obama, for all the hope it was still doing drone strikes, was still doing mass deportations. So, like, it's just more concealed.
But hey, man, gas was a lot cheaper back then.
Exactly. And Obama, like, politicians like him, and I am going to get a bit of philosophy here, even though I always try and avoid it because I never want to bore anybody. But, like, one of my favorite Plato's dialogues that are more understated is the statesman. And, he defines the statesman as, like, the shepherd of men. And, like, what's the art of statesmanship? What's statescraft and soulscraft is words and terms you'll hear in political discourse. They understand it because it's rhetoric and it's bringing people together. Trump's rhetoric is what's so frightening to people. The policies have always been there. It's just now you're able to put two and two together. So Hillary Clinton winning, I honestly, don't give a shit. It's still going to be the same fucking thing. And yeah, obviously I'm always going to be slanted to my politics. And I try and be self-aware about it, just to be honest in the discourse. But until we go and we radically reorient our society, which means, post-capitalism, to go with what Ashton always says, because he's probably going to say it again here, getting money out of politics and stuff like that, which really, to me, ties back to the capitalism thing. Changing the work culture, changing, again, with money in politics, the consequence of that would be more parties would have a fair platform. We kind of liberate democracy, right? Because I don't think we've had genuinely democratic institutions for God knows how long. Hillary Clinton isn't going to give a fuck about that. Nobody that we have is going to give a fuck about that. They'll tell you that they do, so they get your vote. And then after that, they don't give a fuck about you. Nobody in that position gives a fuck about you. And I'm not trying to be callous. I'm just trying to be honest. Especially with those climate change reports that came out, maybe they would, maybe a Democratic kind of majority would do something about that, but it would be more for self-preservation rather than any kind of humanitarian response because they want to keep the power going. That's what it's about. The same way we look at automation, right? Automation can be a good thing, but you need the power spread out first. It can't all be concentrated like this. Otherwise, it's going to fucking suck. Same way as everything else. So Hillary's not going to make the difference. Trump's not going to make the difference. It's all of us collectively acting and fucking doing something that's beyond this system. So I'm going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. And again, Abel, it's not you. It's just, God, I hate that people still keep putting hope in a system that actively fucks them over. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. You got anything you want to add, Ashton?
I have a completely different opinion, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay. What do we got?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. They're both absolutely terrible, terrible options. And frankly, I would rather we just don't have a president and just fucking anarchy for days than either one of them. But right. One of them is currently a legitimate threat to democracy and a legitimate threat to become a fucking dictator. And the other one would probably send us to war. So it's a lose-lose, but I would rather take the one that we'll probably end up in a war with that will never be a dictator.
That's fair. That if we're looking at like pragmatics most immediately, I could understand that. My focus was more like long term.
Frankly, they should both be in prison.
I mean, I wouldn't crowd the cells. I think it's time to bring back the guillotine, but that's just one man's opinion. I
don't believe in death penalty, but yeah, I see.
I mean, again, that's just the divergence of our politics. Because for me, it's not even. It goes into a whole thing that I'm really not in the mood to unpack. But it's really just like this system cannot sustain itself. So no more short-term band-aids. We've got to start thinking of long-term solutions here. It's getting ridiculous.
And yet really at this point, it does kind of feel like it's a matter of choosing whether you would rather go to war with Russia or China. I'm guessing Trump would, Trump is probably going to do some shit with Saudi Arabia. I don't know about them. But yeah, like it's war feels inevitable no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they should both be in prison. I can't stand either one of them. But right now, the lesser of two evils is probably still Hillary.
All right. Next question from Abel.
Because she fucked Bernie over and the goddamn DNC with their heads up their asses. But at the end of the day, getting Trump out of office should probably be a top priority right now.
Right.
Anyway, second question from Abel. What will society look down on us for in 100 years?
What won't they look down on us for?
I mean, the thing is that, like, you also have to ask the question of, like, who exactly is us in this sense? Because if you're asking like America as a whole, our fucking president, look no further.
Yeah, I mean, probably. And it's
like a majority of us decided that he was the best man for the job.
And really, not to be that guy, but if Abel's already asking serious questions, I might as well take the tone all the way to the fucking cliff. Is there going to be anybody to look down on us in 100 years? You know, I think that's optimistic in and of itself. But
wait, seriously?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I don't even know like what we're going to be looking at in 100 years' time. If you look at like climate change stuff like that, like what's the
climate change? No, see, no. I'm going to just straight up like no, like. Climate change is happening. There's no question about that. And it is man-made. Yes, there's no question about that. But it's not something that is actually going to affect us within the next 100 years. It is something that if we don't do something about it in the next 100 years, it will make it inevitable, but it will not actually affect us in the next 100 years. No.
I just think between that and just like man-made fucking catastrophes with politics and stuff, I'm still skeptical that 100 years we're even talking about a concept of a human or a civilization or anything like that.
Jesus Christ, you are dystopian.
Yeah, no, very, and I think I have every right to be. But yeah, I would say president. I would say race relations. I would say, gender relations. With women and stuff like that. I think there's a lot to frown upon. So yeah,
basically everything Trump stands for is shit that's going to be looked down upon in 100 years.
Yeah, and everything that he's been sustaining from prior presidents. Again, because it's not just Trump to me. I think it's a system. I think our whole system is something they'll frown upon. Like, how did they think that governing this way or organizing this way would be effective? So yeah, that's what I think they would frown upon. Next question.
Okay. Up next from Abel, third question. Do you believe nuclear weapons should ever be an option? And if not, do you believe they are still necessary to have? No and no on my end.
I'll agree with that, actually. So we can just move on to the next question.
All right. Fourth and final question from Abel. What are your thoughts on the Brett Kavanaugh nomination? Actually, confirmation at this point, I believe.
Pretty disgusting. Like, even if you put aside like whether or not you believe Dr. Ford, which I mean I personally do, just his temperament in the whole hearing and the idea that because there was like, oh yeah, this is totally like our guy. It's so hypocritical. Like if it was anybody else, they'd probably be called out like on that side. But since he's their guy, and he's their guy because he said, the Democrats and the Clintons like, got all this together and it's a whole thing against me. That alone, again, even putting aside like who you believe and stuff like that, just the way he conducted himself in the face of all that, that's not a guy I want deciding on, seminal legal cases. Not at all. I think the whole thing was a circus and it was disgusting, but not for the reasons that you'll hear certain pundits say that it was a circus and disgusting. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the whole situation is fucked. And the thing is like, the whole hearing was just a smoke and mirrors thing. Like there was literally nothing really happened. Like they did that to maintain appearances, I think, because at the end of the day, Kavanaugh wasn't nominated in the first place because of a certain policy regarding rights or anything like that. He was nominated in the first place because he's the one fucking guy who doesn't believe that the president can legally be jailed. Like he doesn't believe that the president can legally be indicted. So Trump was jumped all over that shit because of the fucking Mueller investigation on the Russian shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fucking disaster, but it's the world we're living in these days. I think we can move on, right?
Yeah, is that the last of his questions, or?
Yeah, that was the last of Abel's questions. We've got 3 from Javaris. First up, thoughts on Gargano's heel turn, and how long will it last?
I give it 6 months, and I love it. I think this makes Gargano even more of an intriguing character. I really said quite a bit on it on our NXT review. But yeah, I think it's an intriguing character. I think it's an interesting twist.
Hey, John, just so you know,
what?
In 6 months, 6 months away is the WrestleMania takeover.
In 7 months, Jesus.
But you think he's going to be heel past that?
Yeah, probably. I think they're going to want to milk this a little bit. I don't think
What the hell? I thought the plan was for him to win the title on that show.
I think plans change. I don't know anymore.
Oh, son of a bitch.
I didn't even agree with you in the first place. Remember that it was Johnny Gargano that attacked Aleister Black. New information, means adjustments. So,
God damn it.
But yeah, I think it's intriguing. I think it's an interesting twist on the redemption story, which I think they've given a bit more gas in the tank to. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Let me tell you, brother, what I think is going to happen. Brother. I think Gargano's heel turn is going to last 3 months. I think he's going to be a heel. He's going to beat Aleister Black. We're going to get a match involving him and Ciampa where it seems like he's on Ciampa's side because they're both heel. He's going to turn on Ciampa by the end of it, and he's going to get the biggest pop in the history of pops.
All right. Next
question. He's going to challenge Ciampa at the TakeOver before Mania and win the goddamn title. Yes.
All right. Next question.
And Javaris' next question is, will we get a heel DIY reunion? And I'm going to say yes, but it's going to last very, very, very little time.
And I'm just going to say yes, and I'm not even going to speculate on time. Yes, we will.
Third and final question from Javaris. Thoughts on Crown Jewel staying in Saudi Arabia with Cena and Bryan willing to no-show?
I think it's the wrong move morally, but, they're about making money. So if you look at it from their side.
Yeah, fuck your morals. We got all this De Niro, baby. Money, 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 money.
Pretty much, yeah. So that's my thoughts on that.
4 questions from Ben Jr. First up, do you think the viewership of wrestling in general will increase or decrease in the future, and why?
I think it will. I think the Fox deal with SmackDown actually has a chance to bring a lot of eyes over the product, especially if they radically change the presentation. I think, yeah, they could actually bring quite a few eyes back. So I'm actually going to be optimistic on this, and I'm going to say it's going to increase. And
I'm going to say increase, but not only for WWE. I think wrestling viewership is going to increase just in general. Like WWE definitely will, but I also think that Lucha Undergrounds will increase in season 5. I think New Japan's viewership in the US is going to increase. And maybe if they don't fuck it up too much, Impact's might go up too. I don't know. All
right, next question.
Second question from Ben Jr. Thoughts on the upcoming midterm elections in the States?
I really don't even know what's going on in my own state. I don't think things have been too crazy, although, I know we do have some hot button issues here. Like, I still think we have a heroin epidemic and stuff like that. I know Texas has been pretty crazy, like a lot of stuff going on there. I've got friends in Florida that are very vested in that race. They want to get Rick Scott out, especially because he has Senate aspirations, and he's just terrible, a really disgusting lizard man. So, I think it's going to be very telling which way it goes. I've already heard voter stories from some of my friends, seen a lot of op-eds about it, and we'll just see where the chips fall. And we're not really going to know until it's all over. So, yeah, not really. It's pretty quiet over here, though, in my parts. So can't really say much to that. What about you, Ash?
Yeah. I guess all I really know is that I just hope that a lot of red states switch over, because it would be really nice to just have more blue representation. I feel like midterms are at the state level, but it's also Senate seats and shit, right?
Yeah,
I thought so. Yeah, if we have a blue Senate, that would probably help a lot of things.
All right, next question.
Sal out here talking about Beto O'Rourke. Third question from Ben Jr. What TV shows do you guys currently watch apart from wrestling, and the reasons why you enjoy them?
I talked about The Good Place. I love that because that actually
John loves his Netflix shows.
Yeah, well, that isn't even a Netflix show. I mean, they have it on Netflix, but not the latest stuff. It's an NBC one. And I enjoyed that because of the philosophy, and it's a very philosophy-heavy show. Speechless, because it follows a disabled protagonist, which is very rare. It's starting to become less rare, which is cool. And still a subject of debate, but, it's a good show. House of Haunting Hill, again, that's been all right. Let me think of what other shows we watch outside. I mean, any Netflix show. Love Jessica Jones. Hated season 2, but rewatching season 1 was great. Luke Cage has been fun.
Jessica.
Yeah. Daredevil. Can't wait for season 3 of that. I just love
dude. Season 3 of Daredevil's out already.
Yeah, I can't wait for us to watch it together. It's gonna be great.
I know. I can't wait either.
So yeah, a lot of good stuff, and really just because great stories, great protagonists. Sometimes I have a personal affinity again with Good Place. It's philosophy with Speechless. It's a disabled character, which again is rare. And then just other just good media. So that's really all I can say about it. What about you, Ashton?
Well, I mean, I kind of already mentioned Silicon Valley, The Magicians, Stranger Things, other stuff that I didn't mention that should be coming out next year. I mean, Mr. Robot. Hello. I can't wait for Mr. Robot to come back. That's going to be a lot of fun. Really, The Magicians season 4 is really shaping up to be just crazy. Like season 3 was legitimately, I think, one of the best seasons of television that we've ever witnessed because like there was so much that went down. The only real downside was like the very end of the season because I feel like it ended on a really down note. But that being said, the rest of the season was so exceptional that it really didn't bother me that much. Like the one episode where they had to figure out the mural or the whatever that was, it was incredible. That one episode alone was amazing. So yeah, like The Magicians is great stuff. Please don't cancel it, Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi has a tendency of just randomly canceling even their most successful shows just for no reason whatsoever. It's just like a big fuck you to the fans. Agents of Shield. I can't wait for the next season, season 6, baby. I know it's going to be a shorter season and it might end up being the last season, but God, the note that we ended season 6 on, holy shit. Or season 5, we ended season 5 on, holy shit. It's going to be so good. I cannot wait for Agents of Shield season 6. I've watched more Death Note recently. I'm up to like episode 23 or 4-ish, somewhere around there, and it's been great. It's gonna take me a little while to fully finish it because it's like one of those things where I'll binge through like 5 or 6 episodes, but then I won't watch it again for like 3 weeks. So it's gonna take me some time to finish it. I think that's about it. I really like it's funny because like I go on Netflix and I spend 45 minutes looking for something to watch and I end up just canceling out of it and looking and seeing what's on TV. Like it's really unfortunate. I know I want to watch BoJack Horseman, but that's just one of those things where like I just really don't usually watch TV shows when I'm not watching them with you, John.
Right.
It's just like in general, I just don't really do it. Speaking of shows though, by the way, I wonder if and or when Netflix is ever going to get Avatar: The Last Airbender because I would love to watch that with you guys.
Yeah, I don't know. We know that they're doing that live action adaptation. I don't know when that's coming, but
Oh, it's going to be so good.
I hope so. I think it has every reason to be good, though. It has all the resources needed. So, all right, next question.
Next question: top 5 favorite actors / actresses in films. And is there any film this year you're looking forward to watching?
Honestly, I never really kept track of actors or actors like this year or in a good while, so I don't even know if I have a top 5.
One of my, it's one of those things where I'm really bad at naming like a number 1 favorite or even like a top 5, but I can name the top 5 actors that I really, really like that I remember off the top of my head. And the first one that came to my mind was Jeff Bridges because he's goddamn amazing.
Okay.
Jeff Goldblum. I just like Jeff's, man. No, but Jeff Bridges, Jeff Goldblum, Channing Tatum. I love his comedy chops. Him in like the Jump Street movies was great. Let's see. I mean, if you want to jump in with any of yours, go for it, dude.
I'm looking up something real quick. If you want to keep going, because
I'm thinking. I mean, since it's 5 actors and actresses, I'm gonna see if I can pull out 5 of each. As far as actresses go, I would definitely say that Kristen Ritter has got to be up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kristen Ritter myself on the actress side. James McAvoy on the film side.
That's a good one. Yeah, dude. Speaking of years, the films that we're looking forward to, Glass.
Yeah, definitely. Glass, I'd say Infinity
Captain
War
Marvel.
Part 2.
What did you say?
Infinity War Part 2, right?
Oh, yeah, Infinity War Part 2. But before that even comes out, we have Captain Marvel coming out.
Yeah, that should be good. Aquaman, I'm looking forward to. That should be good.
I know that's your boy, though. You love Aquaman.
Yeah. I mean, only from childhood, and then I grew up. But I don't know. They seem to have done a really cool twist on it. So yeah, I'll just go. I don't know. I honestly can't name 5, but I'll go Kristen Ritter for women and James McAvoy on the actor side. The guy really just seems to be really fucking awesome at what he does. So, did you have anybody else you wanted to name?
I mean, I'm surprised you didn't mention Will Arnett, dude.
Oh yeah, Will Arnett. I mean, his voice actor. That's the funny thing because like he's a voice actor. When I think actor, I think like who's physically in the flesh. But yeah, Will Arnett's having like a.
Oh well, and hell, while we're at it, David Cross too.
Yeah, Will Arnett, David Cross. More so Will Arnett though. I think he's in a really golden period for his career. He is fucking killing it as BoJack.
Weren't you a big fan of that Ray Donovan show?
Yeah, we haven't watched it in so long though. I wouldn't count him. But speaking of BoJack though, Aaron Paul's a great actor. I think I really enjoy him. In fact, speaking of actresses too, because see now you mentioned like fucking Will Arnett, which made me think of BoJack, which made me think of all these other people. What's that woman's name? I really love her and in BoJack and fucking oh yeah, Allison Brie.
Oh, okay. She was in Glow too.
Yeah. So yeah, Allison Brie, Kristen Ritter, Aaron Paul, James McAvoy, and David Cross. So like that's
know what, too. I mean, just over the last couple weeks, the most impressive acting performance that I've seen has been from Mahershala Ali as Cottonmouth in Luke Cage. He's incredible.
He is. I want to see him in more stuff. Actually, revisiting the.
He was in early episodes of House of Cards.
Yeah, I know. And the reason why he was no longer on House of Cards was so he could go do Luke Cage. So yeah, that's the only stuff I've seen him in.
What a brilliant decision that was. What to jump off a ship that was headed towards an iceberg and ready to sink.
Yeah, and then like to go and do a show where you're forever going to be known as like probably the best part of that show.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like he was on that show and it's not like he lasted throughout both seasons or anything like that. So he was like on that and off of it before it had a chance to sink too. So like, yeah, it's awesome.
He's just got that sixth sense, man. Like
he just knows. Yeah, he just knows. Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh man. Another name I'm just gonna throw out there as far as like comedy chops go is just Chris Hemsworth because Thor Ragnarok was amazing.
Yeah, that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
All right. Okay, I guess we can move on.
Yeah.
Mr. Trayshawn had one question. What feuds do you want to see Matt Riddle in on both NXT and the main roster? My first instinct is I want Matt Riddle versus Dominik Dijakovic.
Yeah, that would be great. I want to see Matt Riddle feud with Ricochet for the North American Championship. I want to see, because we've seen the UK title defended up against non-UK people, I want to see Matt Riddle versus Pete Dunne.
Oh my God. I want Matt Riddle versus Tyler.
Yes. I want Matt Riddle versus, well, since I'm predicting him, I want Matt Riddle, since we said main roster, to take the IC title off of a heel Dean Ambrose, but there's no way he's going to be called up that fast.
Dude,
yeah.
Matt Riddle versus, ready for it, Lars Sullivan.
Yeah, I could dig that. Probably one of the best matches in Lars' career.
And speaking of Matt Riddle versus big motherfuckers, Matt Riddle versus Keith Lee.
Yes. Another main roster feud if he's still around. Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles. Matt Riddle versus Shinsuke especially, I think.
Oh, that's not fair.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna stop there. But yeah, Matt Riddle, the world.
Dude, I don't know if they would have a heel in this, but Matt Riddle versus Seth would be amazing.
It would be. Even if it was like an open challenge type thing for a title, that would be really cool to see them interact.
Oh man. Maybe Matt Riddle is the next face of the company. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. You never know, dude.
It's definitely possible, actually. I mean, he's got a great look. He's incredible in the ring. He's not the best talker, but he's got like that RVD kind of charm to him. I don't know, man. Matt Riddle might legitimately be the next face of the company if Roman doesn't stick around.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's up for grabs, man. It's just all a matter of who's going to take it. So,
all right. Up next, we had four questions from Alex Foster. First up, Johnny Scumbag, what are your thoughts on Sasuke?
A whiny little bitch that just never got over his fucking problems and thought he was a badass about it. Wham! My whole clan died. Get the fuck over it. Appreciate the family that you're building and stop fucking bitching every 2 seconds. Bitch slap you with my fucking dick. Do a fucking do with that, motherfucker. Anyway, next question.
Oh my God, you're amazing.
I don't care about the genocide he lived through. It doesn't fucking matter. He's worthless. Pretty much like everybody in that fucking village. And since when was jutsu like this one grand attack rather than actual technique? You know, fuck Naruto altogether, actually. Save for a few parts. But especially you, Sasuke. Fucking hell ass. Anyway.
All right, second question from Foster. Wrestlers who should be added to video games. And then he specified any video game. So I'm thinking like Okada was in Tekken. So like stuff like that, I'm guessing.
Matanza in Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yes.
I'm just going to stop there. I'm not going to do
Wasn't Matanza's entire look based off of a Dead or Alive character?
I wasn't aware of that. Wouldn't surprise me, though.
Not Dead or Alive. There was some kind of a fighting game or something like that Matanza's look was based off of. I don't know.
So I'm just going to stop at Matanza because I'm not going to do better than that. What about you, Ashton?
I mean, since we're talking Mortal Kombat, we can't just let Matanza be the only Lucha Underground character that gets into Mortal Kombat. We've got to have Drago in there. We've got to have Aerostar in there with his time travel abilities so that he can literally like pause his opponent and get an attack or two in. And Phoenix too. Like that's like the ultimate trifecta. The Lucha Super Friends have got to be in Mortal Kombat if we're doing Mortal Kombat.
And of course, the obligatory, because Johnny Cage was a ripoff of Johnny Mundo, not the other way around. Johnny Mundo should come in, uppercut his nuts off, and take his spot. So I'll put Johnny Mundo in there as well.
Absolutely, of course.
Johnny Cage.
All right. So and plus, since Trevor Mann or Ricochet does not own the rights to the Prince Puma character, let's put Prince Puma in Tekken, please.
Yeah, I would put Ricochet in like a Marvel versus Capcom setting so he could go one-on-one with like Spider-Man and shit. So, yeah, I think that'd be a pretty cool fit for him.
All right, so third question from Foster. For Halloween, if you had to throw something other than eggs at trick-or-treaters, what would they be? Bricks.
You?
I knew you were going to say that. I even misspoke. I said brie instead of bricks.
Yeah, we'd almost spoil it for me there, bud.
God damn it. I'm sorry.
But what do you got?
I was going to say bricks. God damn it.
Oh, well, then I stole it from you. That makes me happy. Come up with something else.
Oh, what a dick.
Yeah. Actually, no, you know what? You can have bricks. I'd want to throw dead cats at them. That'd be really traumatizing. Oh, no. Yeah.
Did you hear my mom?
That's perfect. We can move on. Specifically dead kittens because they're smaller and lighter. So just.
No. Oh, wow. This wasn't a question for J-Scum either.
Well, I mean, you know, options.
Oh my God. I mean, I was even going to say, like, why don't we throw, if we're going to throw animal carcasses, why don't we throw something that is like scary and not something that the kids would be like, you know, like, that's cute. But my mom's reaction just sealed it for you, I can tell.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't get into it now. I've been called out. So
I was like, well, if we're going to throw carcasses, why don't we throw like bat carcasses instead of cat carcasses?
You know, trauma.
You know what? There's a serious problem with feral cats in the United States anyway, so fuck it.
Yeah! Next question from Foster.
Fourth and final question from Foster. TV shows / anime that you love that you wouldn't want to live in.
DBZ, because I'm a human and that means I'm fucked when every antagonist comes forward.
Yeah, I mean, any TV show or anime that I love that I wouldn't acquire the traits that makes it fun to watch in the first place, I wouldn't want to live in. Like, if I'm not a Pokemon trainer, I don't want to live in the Pokemon world. If I'm not a bender, I don't want to live in the Last Airbender world. Like any situation in which I'm not inheriting the traits that make those shows interesting in the first place, I have no interest in being in those worlds.
Yeah, that's a pretty thoughtful answer.
All right, up next, final four questions, and these are from Ella. First up, this one's actually just for me. Will the Rams go 16-0? You know what? I'm going to answer this question actually thoughtfully rather than just spouting no. Frankly, they might lose this week because I know they're facing the Packers this week. But let me actually pull up their schedule, and I'll tell you what teams I think have a chance of beating them. The Packers this week, the Saints in New Orleans the following week. The Seahawks are probably not going to beat them in LA. The Chiefs have a definite shot at beating them. The Bears have a good enough defense that they might give them a challenge. The Eagles in December, definite possibility, and that's about it. So there's five games left that I could see the Rams losing, and their coverage is bad enough that I don't think they're a perfect team by any means. I think that they've gotten relatively lucky as far as their schedule goes, in the sense that the toughest games that they've played have been against the Vikings, who they only beat by a touchdown, and then in Seattle, which they only won by 2 points. So really, the games that they get that are challenging, they struggle in. I mean, the only other team on their schedule so far that I would really consider to be a good team is the Chargers, who they beat by 12, and that was convincing. But that was also before Joey Bosa came back. So, I think the Rams are probably going to lose like anywhere from like 2 to 4 games this season, if I had to guess, because they won't lose all 5 of the games that I listed. But I think they'll probably lose like 3 games. They'll probably go 13-3 or something like that. Next question is for both of us. From Ella, what are your thoughts on Beavis and Butthead if you've ever watched it?
Before I answer, Mark said something in chat. I'm going to redact my Halloween answer because he's apparently going through something personal with his cat. Obviously, I never want to hurt anybody directly with my humor. I always knew it would happen eventually. I sincerely apologize, so I will change my answer. I actually like Brandon's idea, but semen's way too gross for me, so I'll do balloons filled with hot sauce that I would throw at people. Because it's still the suffering that I enjoy, but I don't think it goes in that psychological territory. So,
well, and plus, I mean, the hot sauce can do structural damage in a similar way to the insides of an egg. Because if you like egg something that has paint on it, it can fuck the paint up forever. Hot sauce can do shit like that too.
So, Mark, I just want to say before I answer Ella's question, you're a valued member here. You know I care about you. You know you're my friend. I did not know that, so I sincerely apologize. I own that, and I hope you accept my apology. But moving on to Ella's question, I loved Beavis and Butthead. I didn't care too much for the revival. I felt like it tried too hard to be contemporary, and I think the best works of art are always timeless because they speak to issues that aren't defined by any particular generation. But I feel like the older cartoon was very well done, and I really enjoyed it. I still laugh at some episodes to this day. Like one of my favorites is Nosebleed. I thought that was a very good episode, and so yeah, I'm definitely a fan.
Never watched an episode in my life, and no interest.
All right. So next question.
Next question is our third question from Ella. This is just for you, John.
Should I? Because I already know.
Can you go on a quick rant about homeless people?
You know what? Since I've already been reminded of my conscience, and I'm kind of shaken up to be a scumbag again because I really didn't mean to hurt Mark's feelings, I am going to go on a rant, but it's going to be different. Fucking riot already. Eat the rich. What do you have to lose? Like, literally, I am seeing Jeff Bezos as the richest man in the fucking world. And he's able to pay $15 an hour wages, but it'll come at a cost of your bonuses. And it's like, why the fuck are we tolerating this? Look, I even saw like a video a while back that was really disgusting where a homeless guy, because the laws are a bit tricky because they don't really have any property under legal definitions. So you just kind of make camp, you know what I mean? And one guy was like thinking that it was all litter stuff. He took all of this homeless guy's stuff and he threw it into the body of water. I don't know if this was in like California or what. Really scummy ass dude who not only was disrespecting a homeless person, but like actively polluting, which should also be illegal on some level. So yeah, my rant is not that you're homeless, because again, I'm a bit gun shy. Like I'm gonna need like a day. I really feel bad about that. But put their head on a fucking stick. Like, you know, don't fucking wait for this shit. Go out and take it. Like, do it. Nobody's gonna like, I'm just waiting for something. So it's not your fault that you're homeless, okay? And even if people are like, oh, but what if they were, you know, alcoholic or stuff? I can speak to having family on drugs, and like I've even reconnected with some family and stuff. It is a personal choice. I'm not denying that, but the way the system and the culture of like drugs and like personal failings of that nature come to be, that's fucked and you're doomed to fail. Work culture, some people have to work 3 jobs to keep something together and they could still be homeless. So homeless, I think, is a very broad category. It's not this like pigeonholed stereotype thing. Revolt. Hear me. Revolt. It's like that guy that used to say smoke. Revolt. Eat the fucking rich. That's my fucking rant. Power to you, homeless people, and to all working class people. Fucking change some shit. That's what I'm fucking waiting for. Next question.
Next question. What is something that would blow your past self's mind if you traveled back in time and told them?
That I'm fucking somebody in something that I love. Like, if you would have told past me, hey, your life's really shit, and I know it sucks that you're seeing like your father openly do heroin in the living room, and you're kind of having an existential crisis and a meltdown, and you're pushing everybody away that cares about you, but hey, you're gonna find something that you love, and then in time, you're actually gonna go and speak about it in another state, and learn how to travel, by yourself and overcome those anxieties. Blow my fucking mind. Because, when you're in a shithole, you always think you're going to be in that shithole forever. So that's what I would tell myself is like, hey, tough it out. Do what you got to do to survive, even if it's ugly, because what's waiting on the other side, you never would have guessed it. And it's fucking beautiful. So, yeah.
Yeah, mine probably would have been something along the lines of like, you're not better than other people just because of what you like and your opinion doesn't really fucking matter. So stop trying to make it seem like you're better than everyone else.
There you go.
Yeah. I was an asshole in high school and middle school and probably elementary school too, and probably still now, but I'm trying.
Different degrees of asshole. Hey, we're all learning, right? So
yeah.
That.
Well, that's it though. That was our last question of the entire Q&A, guys. So it took us a little under 3 hours. I'm actually surprised this was less than 3 hours, but yeah, we've closed it out. And Ella, Foster and Ella might end up getting into a fist fight because Ella really snuck in. Like Foster got his questions in like 5 minutes before we went live, and then Ella was just like 2 minutes before we went live. Boom, snuck them in there.
I mean, dude, like she pretty much jacked Foster's gimmick. Like that is a serious offense. But guys, thank you for your Q&A questions. I can't believe we got 70 plus, like 76 was the total, right? That was crazy from you guys. So thank you for joining us. Next Q&A is going to be November 29th. So I'm going to be sure to get the pinned tweet. You guys already know the drill. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Discord. Be on the lookout for my pinned tweet. DM me. James already did in the middle of this Q&A. DM me.
I knew it. I knew it. Damn it.
Dude, he's such a skank scone. I love him, but he's a skank scone. So yeah.
He's a cunt croissant.
Yes. So get your Q&A questions in. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Evolution Preview and Predictions at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm just going to hand it over to Ashton to take us home.
No, that's it. Yeah, John nailed it. Preview predictions tomorrow night at 9, and then Evolution live reactions Sunday at 7. Shows, we'll talk about it tomorrow. We have things to say about it. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But until then, guys, remember to like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Iconic. You do realize that you've got 2 people here that don't hate communism, right?
Yeah, you're not exactly speaking to the entirety of our base, believe me.
Like the video, you bad people. All right, guys. Yeah, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, all the stuff in the description. It's Q&A, so I already know that most of the people that are here are already patrons. But do note that if you are not a patron, you're only allowed to ask 3 questions moving forward in Q&A. So join the Patreon so you can get up to 5, or only get 3 on Q&A every month. And that being said, guys, we hope that you enjoyed, and we will see you tomorrow night for our preview predictions on Evolution. Stay tuned.